everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Fourtress of, a podcast about movies and TV shows and video games and lots of pop culture nerd things. My name is Oscar. I'll be one of your hosts today. And with me per usual are two of your other hosts. We got Brian and Devin here today.
Yo.
Hello.
Back.
It's us.
How you guys doing?
Doing good, man.
Well, you know.
Yeah.
Had a little 3-day weekend. Didn't do anything as usual. Went too fast. And now back to the 9-to-5 grind because I love capitalism.
I celebrated Juneteenth by reading a chapter of The Color of Law. And
look at you.
It is...
what is the chapter, like 11 pages?
No, man. Those chapters are like 30 pages long.
Big ass.
It's very dry.
Yes, it is. Correct.
It's very funny how she writes. She's like, she doesn't do a lot of analysis or anything. She's just very much like, here's my one sentence point, and then here's like 30 pages of evidence of multiple examples and like descriptions of names, dates, demographic data. Just like, she just buries you with evidence, basically, is how she does it. And it's very like, it's very powerful. So yeah.
Nice.
That's dope. Very nice. So guys, with that, should we jump into our first segment of the week?
Let's do it.
A lot to get into.
News talk.
Listeners, if you want to jump ahead to any point in the episode or avoid spoilers or anything like that, check all the time codes at the bottom, yada yada. All right, let's go. First things, Final Fantasy VII had its 25th anniversary celebration little stream thing, where I guess let's start with the biggest thing they announced was part 2 of Final Fantasy VII, the remake, which they called Rebirth, which they also said is coming out next winter.
Right. It's coming out a little bit later than we were hoping.
No, I'm surprised.
Are you surprised?
Because we joked constantly how about the first one took like a million years to get, and we think it'd be like a Kingdom Hearts 2 to 3 time of delayed for that.
I was
second
hoping
one
they
to
were
come
going to
out,
be better than this, but it's still. I mean, but the good news, they do have something coming for us this winter.
Yes.
I don't care about it personally, but
Oh, really? I'm kind of. After watching this, I was like, man, I was jazzed to go finally play the first one or the first remake. I mean,
yeah, I'll play it for sure. But it definitely looks like it's like, oh, well, we have this new engine that we're having fun using, and we want to get better at it for when we, because they say they're working on the third one as well of the Final Fantasy VII remake series. So I think they're just kind of playing around with this while they can. Of course, a bunch of games came out around Final Fantasy VII, so like, why not ask Crisis Core to it? Like, just do that as well.
Yeah, and I think it's also cool because I guess. Maybe light spoilers for Crisis Core, but not really, because I've never played it. I just know a little bit about it. It is a prequel to the first remake, so I think it would be cool to play that first remake, play this weird prequel that might give you more context of that first one, and also maybe lead into that second one in a year or so afterwards, or something like that. So I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I'll give it to them. It just, as soon as I saw like the UI and stuff and the way the gameplay was, I was like, oh,
yeah,
y'all just use the same engine and like it's almost the same game. Okay, that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah. I do find it interesting. All right, and this is where we might slight spoilers for Final Fantasy VII, so just skip that. Just based off this Rebirth section they've shown, it looks like they might do it. The thing that has been like a rumor and one of those like old gaming myths since that first original came out is, do you think they might give you a chance to save Aerith?
Potentially. I know you haven't played the remake yet, but there's definitely some inserts in there that this might not be a shot-for-shot remake. And you start to realize that pretty soon throughout the game, which just makes this seem a lot more interesting of a trilogy, because they're making a trilogy with this game so far that it's like, this might not be a remake at all. It could be a completely different thing by the second game, and they've definitely been alluding to it. So this could be more information about that kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool.
What would that change? Like with the butterfly effect of that is pretty crazy.
Right.
There's another aspect about that as well that has to kind of do with Crisis Core a little bit. The things that can change around that could be incredibly interesting. So who knows? I'm excited for it. I love Final Fantasy VII. It's a great game. I hope they kind of do the Resident Evil treatment, but maybe they do this for some of the other older games.
Yeah. Which one would you want next? Final Fantasy VIII?
Probably 9 before 8, to be honest. 9's a better game, but 8's still pretty good.
Yeah, so that's pretty exciting. A lot of people are freaking out. Also, yeah, they like Tetsuya Nomura said he's not the director on 2, but he is, I'm pretty sure, the director on 3. So it seems like the two big things he's working on right now are Kingdom Hearts 4 and the third part of this remake, which is like crazy how he like took this giant gap of not touching that property for a decade, and then he's like, just get it, let's just do it. Do it now, everything now.
He got inspired. He was sitting at home reading a book, and he was like, I just want to make some video games. Let's go.
I guess last thing about Final Fantasy, what do you think the last one will be called? What?
If it's not Resurrection, I think it's going to be Remake the Remakening. That's what I think.
I was like, what Matrix title could they go with?
Oh my god.
Yeah, because I feel like you have to have, what is it? So the first one's a Remake, and you have Rebirth, which is, I guess they're both around kind of like, I guess, life. So maybe something has to be about like death.
Maybe. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Revengeance. They'll just do that with like the Metal Gear Solid shit again.
Revengeance.
Revengeance. Oh my god.
Is that even a
was
fucking
so
word?
dumb.
I don't even think that's a word.
No, they
It's
made it
not.
up for that fucking Raiden game.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that would be great. So we'll see. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I really want to get my hands on it this winter. So I guess I'm just gonna have to play Crisis Core until I get to it. And another thing as well is wanting to play on PC. That means I'll probably get it even later than that because I'm sure it's not gonna come out. It's probably gonna be a timed exclusive for PlayStation 5 first anyway.
Right.
So I'll probably see it the summer afterwards in 2024.
Right, because they did announce the first one's coming to PC. Even the Intergrade PS5 only version originally. Now they're even getting that on PC as well.
Well, Intergrade did come to Epic Game Store maybe a few months after the original one. After Intergrade came out, that remake of the PS5 version that did come out, but now it's on Steam. That was their big announcement. They put it on Steam now.
Gotcha.
Because people really hate Epic Games. So
fair enough.
So that's them talking to the fans, but
yeah. And then they announced some iOS mobile stuff that was like, all right, cool, more Final Fantasy 7, whatever. I will say overall, I like their whole little celebration thing. I thought it was pretty cool and short and sweet, which I loved. Next thing, this was a pretty big piece of news. This was according to the Hollywood Reporter. It looks like HBO might be doing a Jon Snow focused Game of Thrones sequel series spinoff, which when I first heard this, I will admit I was both excited and scared at the same time.
Yeah, I'm just disappointed is the word. I'm disappointed before you even
Are you disappointed just because like do you feel it's like too soon or just because you hated the ending of that show by the time it ended?
This is like somebody making a sequel to Lord of the Rings. It's like the story of Game of Thrones ends at the end of the books, like at the end of the season, you know. So it's like, what else are you going to tell?
You mean those books that we don't have?
True.
That's my criticism of it. Is this man will do anything but write these goddamn motherfucking books.
Wait, is it going to be George R. R. Martin?
I don't think he's going to give you those books, to be honest.
No,
I don't think
is he involved with this show?
He's definitely involved for sure. He's talking about how there's a bunch of other spinoffs that he wants to do as well.
He wants to do some animated stuff.
Dude.
He wants to do, yeah, absolutely.
I
think he'll maybe give you Winds of Winter, and he's not giving you the next one.
I believe that.
Man,
only because Winds of Winter is already probably mostly done.
But we've seen like the notes of like the last season was like his notes basically of like that's right. Like, he gave them like the big plot points. So I think the books will end mostly the same way.
Oh, I'm sure.
As the show did. But like still, like what do you like? And first of all, I think Jon Snow was left. Like, what the fuck is he gonna do? Is he gonna is Princess Leia gonna need some help and he's gonna have to go fly off planet? And what the fuck? Like, who cares about he went up there to chill, dude. Like, what other threat is gonna be up there?
Spoilers for the ending of Game of Thrones. So just letting people know. But like, for one thing, I definitely think that if this is successful, this is their way of doing more spin-offs with other characters like Arya, blah, 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 blah. We can see what happened to Arya when she got on that boat. But I think starting with this might be smart, or starting with Arya was the same thing, it's not in Westeros. You don't have to worry about seeing all these other characters, bringing all these other actors back. It could just be him meeting new people beyond the wall.
But that's what worries me. Is it just going to be a lame-ass 8-episoder of just them sitting in the fucking snow again? Because one good thing about Game of Thrones was the fact that you got away from that every once in a while because there's other characters to, focus on.
Right.
But if I have 8 episodes where it's just about him, all I'm going to be seeing is fucking 8 motherfuckers in the snow. And I don't know if I can deal with that for more than a few episodes.
Or he's just like, yeah, this whole Beyond the Wall thing's cool, but it's pretty cold and I'm kind of bored. So let's go back to Westeros.
He just completely does something else.
Yeah.
He
just goes back and
hopefully he'll have a little bit more lines than I don't want it and she's my queen. So
I will say, like, it definitely feels too soon. Since that last one ended, which is what my whole thing, because I definitely could see them doing this in like a decade or 2 decades or whatever, doing a sequel series. Like, yeah,
absolutely.
So, but I guess if it's like they want to tell a story of him at the same age type of thing, then I guess they kind of have to do it now type of thing, maybe.
Yeah, you don't have much time.
But
for me, it's kind of that situation. We've talked about this a lot with Last of Us, where it's like I personally kind of think and like unfortunately this show did not end very well. So maybe it does need some things to wrap it up to make it a little bit better and better bow on it.
Right. That might be the other reasoning, is that they can kind of maybe autocorrect some stuff
Right.
that
But
people didn't like.
it's that kind of thing where it's just like, does more story need to be told for this story? I don't feel
Right.
having open ended and then closing that openness doesn't always feel very good. I feel like it usually doesn't. I feel like it usually makes things worse when it's like, oh, you have all these questions and things to talk about. You don't need more because we're going to tell you exactly what happens. Mass Effect is about to probably have that issue pretty soon with what they want to do with their story. I don't know if I buy that. I don't know if I want them to do that. But then I also understand that people do things for money. And then I'm like, oh, okay.
Yes,
exactly. I was genuinely surprised that Kit Harington is apparently like on board to do this, because I was like, I thought he was kind of tired of this when it ended, but maybe he's like, maybe it's been enough time, and he's like, okay, I guess so.
He went to a beach for like 2 weeks, and he's like, okay, I'm ready to go
or
back.
they wrote him a big enough check.
Yeah, that's what I figured probably happened. It's the Oscar Isaac situation where it's like, I'll never work for them again. Oh, how much?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Yeah, that's but Brian, like, that's exactly what I'm saying too, is like, what more do you have to say with the Game of Thrones story that hasn't already been said? Like, Game of Thrones ended, the whole big overarching mysteries was like, are they going to be able to beat the White Walkers? And who's finally really going to end up on the Iron Throne, right? Like, how's that, the political, intrigue going to end? And they addressed all that. Right. So it's like, what else could be compelling in this world that we've already pretty much seen the most compelling things that could come out of it? Like, I'm just like, curious what the story is going to be about. But
and that's what I feel like a lot of our favorite stories that have been told so far are doing exactly that. And I mean, not to get too off track, but looking at kind of Star Wars and situations like that, where it's like, I don't feel like y'all took the time to take make an interesting story out of the things that you've shown us. Like, oh yeah, we added to expand this universe. You didn't expand anything. Nothing was expanded for me. And it feels like it's going to be another one of those situations. They just want to Disney Plus it up, where it's like, we have all these extra things for these shows that you like.
Right.
You bought the DLC pack for the story that you like. Okay, that's fine. Did I get anything out of it? Probably not. I just got to see Kit Harington be hot and cool again. Okay, I mean, I guess that's cool.
I'm cautious, but I'll wait to see what it looks like.
Yeah, we need to see a trailer. But one thing I will say, if either of the two like original showrunners are involved, I'm hard out. Okay, those dudes were only good when they had George R. R. Martin's books. As soon as they went off book, the show went downhill. So if they're involved, I'm out.
I think that's probably the best thing they can do is not invite them back.
Yes. I bet they
no
won't.
offense to them.
I bet they won't, because HBO gave them like a blank check and they're like, please make 10 episodes in the last season. They're like, no, we're going to do it in 75 because we said we would. It's like, you guys are idiots. They were dumb.
We'll see how that turns out. That probably won't happen for a good 3, maybe 4-ish years, maybe.
I'm still excited about it. Like, I'll still watch it for sure, just because I love Kit Harington and I think he deserves the world.
Yeah, seems like a good dude.
Yeah, I don't think I'm necessarily excited about more Game of Thrones that isn't set in just a significantly different time period,
Right. It's like, how interesting can Beyond the Wall get? But maybe they can, because I guess they have a playground that no one really knows about. So maybe they make it interesting. I don't know.
The Night King's brother is back.
Maybe they bring the White Walkers back and they get the Jon Snow versus Night King actual duel.
Or maybe they go so far past the snow, maybe you start seeing some greenery or something. Maybe they find out there's some grass somewhere.
Maybe we can see what Beyond the Wall looks like in summer.
Summer vacation.
He just goes on like a big quest, and it just turns into like an exploration show, kind of like what Arya's show, I guess, would be like.
Right.
Yeah.
Hers would be more interesting. No offense, Johnson.
Yeah, she definitely got left in a more interesting place, but who knows?
Yeah. Next thing. This was a couple of weeks ago. The first trailer for Prey, which is a Predator prequel movie, was shown. It's going straight to Hulu. I don't know if it's touching theaters at all. I'm not gonna lie. This trailer looked better than it probably deserves to be.
It looks better than any other Predator movies I've ever seen.
The Predator franchise has been pretty bad as of late. The last movie was really not great, which sucks because it was Shane Black who wrote the original Predator. He was back, and it was a bad movie. Don't watch it. But this one looks cool. It takes place like 300-ish years ago or something like that, and it's like right in that prime like colonization era, because you do see what looks like some colonizers with some muskets and shit. That'll be fun to watch the Predator tear them apart for a little while.
The Predator fights racism. Love it.
Yeah, it looks kind of dope. I like the aesthetic of it. It's directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who did 10 Cloverfield Lane, which is a great movie.
Yes. One of my favorite franchises, Cloverfield.
Yeah. We'll see what he can do with an even bigger budget, it looks like, considering Cloverfield Lane was like filmed in a box.
Yes, literally.
It's just funny with the Predator doing like different time eras. It's like, they struggled enough with him in like that one where I think it was the Predators when they went to the planet and it was like all these like badass, humans that they'd like landed on the planet to like hunt them. And like that's like with the best of like modern weaponry. And now it's like, let's just keep going back to make it easier and easier for
now I have a tomahawk.
Like the Predator to kill a lot of people. These like friggin' colonial era dudes are gonna be like, huzzah, like shooting like muskets and like taking 3 minutes to reload. It's like I don't see how they win that. Like, how are they going to win that?
We decimated people with military-grade space weapons, and now you got a motherfucker with a spear made out of bamboo. Like, no, I think we lose on this one, guys.
Right.
Like, interesting.
I think that's what I'm most interested in. Like, how the fuck are they going to win at the end of this movie?
That's one thing she said. She was like, I know how to survive. And then she throws her little tomahawk, and it's like,
Right.
He's got lasers. I don't know.
He literally has a shoulder cannon. Yeah. Also, I do like they were gonna have a full dub in Comanche available to people to watch as well, which is pretty cool.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah. And then the director also talked about in an interview with comicbook.com about he's got some God of War Easter eggs and references in that trailer where the Predator has like a cool shield that comes from nowhere and it like does a weird spinning thing that looks exactly like Kratos does in that first movie. Or that first game, I mean. And then I think there's one other thing. Oh, I think he was just talking about the girls and her axe.
I love that he really wanted to tell people that, hey, guys,
right.
I really like God of War.
I really like it.
That's cool, man. Whatever.
Nobody asked, but that's okay. No.
He knew people weren't going to recognize it, so he's like, let me tell them. Let me let them know.
Right. But yeah, that's coming straight to Hulu. We'll see how it does.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a date for it? I didn't see a date.
I think it's August.
Oh, okay.
August something.
It's gonna be a watch. I'll put it on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. Yeah. Next piece, Joker, the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie that everyone loved. No, it's fine. I
you didn't love it?
Okay.
I mean,
I did not love it.
I thought it was a great movie to show a man with a really bad depression.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it's a great character piece.
I wouldn't
but
call it
as
a
a
good
whole,
Joker
I was just
movie.
like, this movie is fine. It's not the best. It's not game breaking and mind changing, but it's fine. It's a good movie. Joaquin Phoenix is amazing in it. But yeah,
Man Has a Bad Day, the movie.
yeah. It's getting a sequel, which is funny because they were like, no, we're not going to touch this. But then they were like, it made $1 billion and it won an Oscar. Let's make another one.
Maybe we can touch it.
But the funny thing is, this is these are allegedly Lady Gaga is in early talks to play Harley Quinn, and it might be a musical.
What?
I mean, the first movie already wanted to be artsy fartsy, so this does not surprise me really at all to just really do a wild thing. And with the kind of lore of Harley Quinn and Joker and stuff like that, being whimsical like this, but also really upsetting, makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, and it also could be, also was reported by THR. Also, it could be all in his mind.
Right.
By
and
the
that
end
could
of
be
it,
a thing.
you know?
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't be surprised they did something like that. It's a psychological thriller almost situation where it's almost creepy that it's a musical. And
if it took place entirely like in Arkham Asylum, that might actually work. You know, and it's just like he's having this weird psychedelic musical trip, and he's just like, because he's like going through like electroshock therapy or something. I'm assuming this means that like it would make sense because if she is going to be Harley Quinn, she would start out as his therapist, Harleen Quinzel, like interviewing maybe, and then over the course of that movie, I don't know, like it might. This is one of those things that is like it might just be crazy enough to work.
Listen, Lady Gaga is a great singer. She's also an award-winning actress now. So, I mean, it makes sense.
It might. Yeah.
I mean, she was terrible in American
actor.
Horror Story, but that's okay. That wasn't her fault.
I don't think she's the best in everything, but she might be able to do this. Yeah.
I think in Star is Born and what I think I saw the trailer for this movie. I haven't seen it myself yet, but it's like about the Gucci family, maybe
House of Gucci. Yeah.
Yeah, but like she looked unrecognizable in that. So I think she is a very talented actor. I think it's just about
she's got a little bit of chops. She's definitely up there with some of the lower end of A-list, I think.
And like the good news is she can absolutely contribute on like the costume design because like she's wearing some pretty crazy stuff all the time. So like
Homegirl wore meat.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
She wore
Holy
beef.
shit, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That was like
Meat
a
dress.
lifetime ago.
In public. I know she had flies all over that ass.
She wore a whole fucking Arby's to that award show.
She had to like sit.
She had the meats.
Down. Like she was like sitting in a chair for like hours during that show. It's like
that's what I'm telling you.
Probably
comfortable.
stank,
I know that
bro.
shit stank, bro. I know she had flies flying all around her like a garbage can.
I feel like you're gonna get bacteria from that.
First, she was up in LA. Like, you know that shit hot. Come on, girl.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. She was cooking on that red carpet.
She was medium rare by the time the red carpet ended.
People just start eating it off of her as the day went on.
Listen, hear me out. Hear me out. Never mind. Continue.
Gives meat sweats a whole different meaning.
Right. So we'll see if this is actually true, and how it turns out. But like, what a very interesting thing to do. And I also kind of love it because like there are the fans of this movie that are terrible people because it's the Joker and he's against society, yada yada yada, and they're this horrible minority of people. Are they gonna go see this fucking musical? I kind of would love that idea.
the worst white man you've ever met before in your life that has never had a friend or been kissed before is going to watch this movie and sit there seething the entire time.
Yeah.
And that Reddit post about to go off.
Right. I kind of love that idea.
All the incels.
I love when they make like kids episodes of stuff like that. It's like, you nerds gotta watch this.
Right, yeah.
Because you want to keep the continuity in check.
Yeah. So we'll see. All right, last piece of news. Devin, hit us with what Halo Infinite fucked up with.
Yeah, so initially, this is a Halo Infinite thing, okay? They had a new color pack kind of thing coming out for Juneteenth, which, as we know, is the celebration of the end of slavery in the United States. Very important holiday. So Halo Infinite decides to make, put maybe cash in on this. Maybe it was free. I'm not sure. But either way, the colors that they came out with for Juneteenth were initially, for a moment, called bonobo, which, as we know, is a type of great ape, which is not something you ever want to associate with the freedom of black.
Why is that, Devin? Go into details.
Well,
why is
there's
that?
There's a plethora of details there. I'm sure we can put together.
As we look at you with our koofies on, what you got to say, brother? What's going on over there?
Don't read any textbook from the Deep South to figure that out. But
it turns out it is often used as a derogatory phrase towards black people to call them monkeys or apes of some sort.
Yep.
It's also a phrase used to make fun of Sans in Dragon Ball Z. Frieza used to love to throw that monkey around real hard.
Oh, I forgot they turn into monkeys
it
in that
felt real
show.
fucking racist as a kid. And I was like,
that's terrible.
Is this an allegory? Am I? Are the Saiyans supposed to be black? Anywho,
yeah. But anyway, so it doesn't speak well, and the fact that they came out and tried to justify it of like, oh well, all of our color schemes that we like, the color codes that we use or whatever are all called after some, like kind of monkeys or great apes or something. It's like, okay, that's kind of weird. First of all, like maybe just have a different way of categorizing your color schemes. But second of all, so let's take them at their word. Okay. Still not great. Okay, somebody, like, where's the quality control? Like, where's, like, hey, we're about to launch this, it's about to go live. Is anybody going to have a problem with this? And, like, all 5 white people in the room are probably like, no, it's good. Like, let's just launch it. It's like, maybe somebody should have checked that. Maybe get
How
one
could this
person.
backfire on us? Let's take more than 30 seconds to think about it. Nah, it's fine. Let's go.
So, there's 2 things that had to happen. Either it was the perfect storm of fuck-ups that made you to somehow manage to, it's like that laughable, like almost like comedic, like TV
like
show or
bears.
something where it's like, oh, I just can't get anything right. Like, oh no, I happen to just be racist and say something out of context right in front of the whole black party of the school. Oh no, they didn't understand that I was saying something to someone else that was being racist. Like that kind of situation. It's like, either that or they're lying. Because there's a few key facts that happen here. One, this game came out in November 2021. Since then, they have updated the store weekly with new cosmetics. This has never happened any other week since November 2021. It is now June 2022, and this has never happened. Why does it happen to happen right on Juneteenth when you release this specific skin that is called an ape name when it's known to be a derogatory phrase towards black people? Also, it is a fact that one of the tools used to make these skins back in the Bungie days was called bonobo. It was named that. The funny thing about that, 343 doesn't use that technology anymore. They stopped using it after Halo 5. So they can't really use that because that was another excuse. They're like, oh, well, maybe it auto names it based on the system that they used to create it. They don't use it anymore.
Oof.
So why did it get named that? So it's just one of those things where it's like, how did this happen? Unless someone was trying to make a shitty joke and quality control missed it, which very possible, but that means you got some work to do in your lower end of the spectrum to get somebody out of there that might just be a whole ass racist. But it's just
that's like But that's like, I mean, that's just kind of, this whole thing just kind of shows how Halo Infinite's been running, right? Like, I saw another headline recently that like the first Halo Infinite like campaign DLC is going to come out in like 2025. I'm like, that's not DLC. That's a whole new game.
Just make a different game.
Yes, by that point, it's a new game, man.
Like, at that point, you should make a new game. Bro. Jesus.
Like,
what the fuck?
They have just mismanaged. Like, they're trying so hard to like, get up to that level that Bungie was at, but they just can't do it. And like, this is just
come
another
out with DLC 4 years later.
I mean, we still don't have co-op yet. It is coming out sometime this season, which could be anywhere between 3 and 6 months. And it's going to be a beta test at that point. It's never going to be a full release of the co-op campaign. I don't know what that means, a beta test for co-op.
Right,
This game is a tragedy. It was just,
because 343 just doesn't, they don't have it quite together.
Why don't they just need to take like 6 months off and don't talk to anyone and just get your shit together.
Don't answer any tweets. Just fix all the problems. Like, but they won't do that because they literally
say that,
can't.
Hey, we're taking a hiatus for 6 months to get our shit together.
Sorry,
we're not going to respond.
Final Fantasy 14 did it, and it's one of the most popular MMOs in the game right now because they literally said this is dog shit. They destroyed it, remade it, brought it back, and now people love it. Just do some shit like that, man. Like, I don't know. There's just the choices they're making are just they're trying to put out fires, but they can't put them out fast enough, so they just keep piling up over and over again. And then they're also racist, so that sucks. I play this game every week, and it's making me want to play this game less when I know that my developers that I enjoy playing the game of are also racist. Like,
that sucks. That's a bummer.
It's unfortunate.
I think like a lot of these problems, this is what, let's just throw our pitch out there for game companies, okay? Like, I feel like a lot of these problems can be solved if you just have one person of color in the room when you do anything. Okay, so it's basically we're gonna call them like maybe, I don't know. We'll come up with a name for the position, but basically it's anytime you're gonna do anything, anytime you're gonna launch anything, anytime you're going to.
They're called Chief of Diversity. There is already a position.
Do a patch. Okay, all right. Get the Chief of Diversity in there, and also make sure that they're not.
They did
also
it for
white.
Abercrombie and Fitch because they got told they're racist.
But just get your Chief Diversity officers to also be a person of color, and then anytime you're going to do anything, their whole job is just like, hey man, we're about to do this. What do you think? And then they will be able to save you from making these kinds of mistakes. Okay, like this happened. And I'm even white, and I'm like, you called it bonobo? Like, it's Juneteenth. Like, okay, even I picked up on it as a white male. It's like, and it wasn't really that hard. Okay, so
right, it's kind of right in your face.
Get some people of color in the room, and then maybe anytime you do, I'm telling you, you'd have so many less angry, like society being mad at you if you just did this one simple thing.
Yeah,
correct. Okay? It's like that for every situation. Any marginalized group, you're gonna put two people kissing in a movie, two women kissing in a movie. Find you some gay women and tell you whether or not what you did is okay. Like, just the people that it affects, consult them because they're the ones whose opinion is going to matter about it because it involves them. It's their representation. But people don't want to do that. They'd rather run these weird tests, make these weird math problems, do everything but just talk to people. It's the weirdest.
And there's so many like better names like you could have done for Juneteenth. You could have done Freedom. You could have just done Juneteenth. You could have done June 19th. There's so many other better names that you could have had this coded to. Right. It's just like, man, y'all fucking up.
That's like, the funniest thing about it. I've never like looked at the name of the color scheme that I pick. I just pick it because I like the color scheme. So you could have just named it fucking color scheme red, black, like green or something.
57 or whatever.
Care, like, just do anything, man. It doesn't fucking matter. But they had to go and make it a monkey's name, man. Why?
I feel like we didn't even know that these color schemes had names until this happened.
Because they're usually so unoffensive that I don't care about them.
Dude.
Right. Oh man, that's
There's one thing called lightish red, which is a whole fucking stupid joke over that Rooster Teeth red versus blue shit, and I don't care about that. But it's like that kind of stuff. Like, who cares, man? Like,
right.
343 is like the bad luck Brian of game developers, or they're like okay, another meme. They're like that meme with like the person like riding a bike and then they put a stick in their own bike wheel, and then they trip and fall, and they're like, oh, what happened? How could this happen? That's 343. Okay,
you were dating yourself really bad. Nobody Gen Z knows these memes.
Oh shit. Well, okay. I'm maybe dating myself. Yeah, Bad Luck Brian. That might be a little too old for.
Yeah, that's boomer shit right there.
That's boomer shit. Yeah. Oh, we'll see what We'll count the days until their next fuck up.
They're on that Blizzard level.
Maybe we'll post a Bad Luck Brian. I will make a Bad Luck Brian meme about 343, and then we can put it on Instagram. The one time I will interact with Instagram. There you go.
Let's go.
Alrighty, that is the end of the news, guys. We did it. Shall we now move on to our main topic of the week?
Mm-hmm.
Let's freaking do it. I was about to say a bad word. I'm sorry.
Because we have never said anything like
never,
that.
Never.
But first, guys, we're trapped in another podcast. This is a podcast that is full of nostalgia. Nearly 30 years of nostalgia. But also, it's surprisingly very fucking good for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the Fourtress.
Closed caption says 80s music swelling right now.
Welcome to the danger zone.
We've entered the danger zone.
It's Top Gun Maverick, boys.
Brian, actually, I think you should sing the song again and put that on.
No. I have my faculties right now, so.
But it's Top Gun Maverick, baby. Top Gun Maverick. Let's go.
We're doing Top Gun Maverick. I know it's been a couple of weeks, but we thought we'd take a minute because we had a bit of a gap week here to talk about this movie that fucking is just making all the money. It just passed $900,000. It's probably going to hit $1 billion soon.
900 million.
Or sorry, 900 million. It's probably going to pass $1 billion soon. And it's Tom Cruise's. I was about to say Top Cruise's. Let's just call him Top Cruise. Top Cruise. It's now his highest grossing movie of all fucking time, which is crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't believe it. So let's just get into it without spoilers real quick. I fucking loved this movie. And this is from someone who I did watch the first one like the day before I saw this. But like I honestly had to think about it. I was like, I've seen bits and pieces, but that might have been the first time I actually watched that movie like fully through from beginning to end. Just because I was like, I've got all the memes that I know about Goose and so it's like I didn't really feel the need to watch it. And after I watched it, I was like, it's fine. I don't think it's that amazing, but it's very much an 80s movie, and it's for all of its faults, and maybe it's good things, but mostly its faults in an 80s movie. But so I had like no real attachment to it. And then I saw this and I was like, fuck, this movie's good, dude. This movie is fucking great. And by the end of it, I was like, this is my summer movie. This is like, after I thought about it, like really thought about it, I was like, yeah, this is way better than Doctor Strange for me. I'll be surprised to see if Thor surpasses this. We'll find out in a couple of weeks, but honestly, I think maybe it's a combo of Marvel fatigue and the practical effects used in this. I love this movie, and yeah, it's my favorite movie of the year so far, or at least of the summer.
How do you feel about it, Devin?
Yeah, for me, it was just fun. Like, and it's definitely better than the first one by far, which is kind of a hard thing to achieve. But I think the first one just lives on kind of that nostalgia kind of thing. But the power of that. But yeah, it was just like a fun movie. And I think the Marvel fatigue thing, I think that's real. Like, I don't see many movies in theaters anymore that aren't Marvel. But yeah, just like kind of the practical effects too was very impressive. Like, I think I knew that going in that like most of this was not CGI. If any of it was CGI, I don't think any of it was.
I would imagine the opening in this is some CG.
Maybe a little bit. Yeah, there at that. Yeah, that
maybe a little bit.
Maybe Tom Cruise didn't get to Mach 10. I don't know, or 10.2. But yeah, it's just like fun and like action packed, and like it kind of just has you on the edge of your seat the whole time, and while also kind of staying very entertaining. So I don't know. To me, that's kind of what it was. I'm not like a big, usually I'm not big on like military movies anymore, like militaristic, like, like America, fuck yeah. But listen, man, I was kind of happy that America poured billions of dollars into Lockheed Martin or whoever came up with the F-22 or whatever, because
it's some fucking military propaganda. We can go ahead and say it.
It's not as bad as that first one, I will say.
That was one thing I didn't want to say about it. It's some military propaganda.
Yeah, but like,
I was mad about it at first.
Flying looks fun as hell, so.
It really does, though. After this, I saw this movie, driving home from this, I was like, man, I just want to fucking fly.
Yeah. Me too.
Like, listen, if my eyesight wasn't so bad, boy, that Air Force would get that application. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, that's what I felt about it.
So before I tell you guys how I felt, I have to tell you about my experience in going to see this movie. So quick take, this is going to date the episode, but I didn't go and see it until Father's Day / Juneteenth. I typically go to matinees because your boy does not like people. So I usually like to go to when the theaters aren't very packed, COVID, things like that. I just don't want to be around a lot of people. I go at 10 a.m., 10 in the fucking morning at a small theater. I don't expect anybody to be at this theater. No one goes to this theater. It sucks. It's old. It's gross. No one cares. I roll into that bitch. It is packed to the brim. I can barely find a seat. I'm elbow to elbow with motherfuckers of nothing but white dads. If you want to get a white dad excited about anything, show him some military shit. White dads love the military. That is their jam. Whether they served or not, it does not matter. They're not a veteran. This man has worked in a bank for 30 years of his life. But if you say that you can go to the army's in this movie, day one, he's watching this shit. No question. Man probably already started 3 times. And going, that shit is packed with just white dads. And it's just ridiculous. So the 80s music starts swelling in the very beginning. And I'm like, okay, I need to accept this is probably not going to be a movie for me. Like, it's just not my, it's not for my type of person. Whatever.
Right.
By the time we got to the end of that movie, when I tell you I was on my motherfucking seat, dude, this shit was so
man.
good for no reason.
It really sneaks up on you.
Good. Because like you, Oscar, I didn't see the original one until maybe a couple years ago. Sometime during the pandemic, I watched it with some friends. Speaking of which, the first Top Gun is one of the gayest movies on the planet. That movie is incredibly homoerotic, down to the point where you can get the Kenny Loggins them playing volleyball. It's the boys hanging out with the boys. When they hit that shit, everyone's oiled up, fucking shirtless. There is nothing gayer than a straight man, and I will always, I will die on that hill. Straight men are the gayest men on earth. I don't mean that in negative connotation, by the way. I don't want this to be taken out of context or anything like that, but that movie is.
It definitely, I don't think, was what they thought when they made it. But yeah.
Dude, everybody's so sweaty in that movie too. Like, did you notice that?
They're all oiled and greasy and golden.
I'm telling you, there was no headshots in that scene. It was only showing pecs and abs the entire time when they were hitting that ball.
It's like they're just pecs and aviators.
Like everybody on the ground that's like watching them fly. When they're in the planes, they're sweaty as fuck. At the end, like everybody in that aircraft carrier, like I guess the AC broke down because everybody is sweating, like dripping with sweat in that movie.
Just glistening.
And that's what's funny because we'll talk about it a little bit when we get into like the story of the new one. But I was looking for every gay moment I could possibly find in the new movie. I was like, they still gotta make it a little gay. There's no way you can't. But no, I accidentally love this movie, and it's really weird that
accidentally?
Because it's just, I mean, I've never been into that kind of like I told you, like when I first saw it and I first started seeing the first scenes, I was like, okay, it's military propaganda. Like it's not for me. I don't really like watching the military movies, the Tom Clancy stuff, things like that. Just aren't really my jam. So I started to accept that fact, and then by the time I got to accept that, the movie was crazy. Like the pacing of this movie, if you want to talk about how to pace a good movie that's over 2 hours, this right here is a great example. It had such a good balance of whimsical and serious.
I didn't feel the length of this movie at all.
No, and that was the first thing. The first thing I did when I walked into the movie theater, I was like, damn, this is over a 2 hour movie. I'm going to get bored. And they were showing too many too many trailers in the beginning. I was like, I'll be here all fucking day. And then once the movie finally got started, I was like, I wanted more. I was almost upset that it ended. And that doesn't happen for me very often. I suck at sitting through movies. That's why I don't watch too many of them. This just hit.
This movie somehow finds the perfect balance of edge of your seat tension throughout the whole thing, but it doesn't make you like exhausted by the end. Yeah. It's like I don't know how they fucking nailed it, man. Like what the hell?
Like it makes me wonder. It's like, was this by accident? Did you mean to make such a good like? How'd you do this? I need notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I guess with that, let's jump into spoilers before we continue. So spoilers from here, listeners. Yeah, just talking more about the movie. Tom Cruise is fucking good in this movie, dude. It upsets me that he's a crazy person in real life, but he's fucking charming and so good in this fucking movie, man.
Yeah, that was another thing as well. I'm not a huge Tom Cruise fan because yes, he is weird, and also his movies tend to be 4 out of 10s for me mostly. But yeah, to see him in this, I was just like, damn, he's really good. Also, side note, he's gotten very comfortable with being shorter now. And I've started I appreciate that as a short king myself, that it was nice that like he allowed people to stand beside him and they showed cuts of him being significantly shorter than his counterparts, which never happened 20 years ago for Tom Cruise.
I also think though that one, yes, he's gotten more to that even in the Mission Impossible movies. He's not like pretending to be 6 feet in any of these movies, but also I think they have to do that because he is his normal height in the first Top Gun. So it's not like he could have grown like an extra foot from that first movie. So it's like he had to remain that height.
But it was funny like watching him like fuck around with Rooster. And like Rooster's like a 6'1" dude. And of course, Tom Cruise is a solid 5'7". So to see that sometimes on screen is a little jarring, but he allowed it, let it happen. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I fuck with
and definitely like after seeing the first one recently, like I think we watched it again after we saw the second Maverick, and it's like in the first one, like his teeth were kind of bad. He's a little creepy looking, and he also did some creepy things in that movie. But
he is not a normal human being in that first
I didn't
movie.
like him in the first one, but I liked him a lot in Maverick. Like, I think he's aged very well, and maybe softened some of those rough edges.
That, and he's like his love interest is someone like his age. You know what I mean? They didn't go with like a 22-year-old woman in this.
She's still hot, which is
oh my God,
she's way too hot to be her age.
That's Demi Moore.
Jennifer
right?
Connelly is absolutely gorgeous in this movie.
Oh, that's not I thought it was Demi Moore.
No,
you thought it was Demi Moore? That's funny. She does have that same kind of look, though. I can see where you're.
No, Jennifer Connelly is she's gorgeous in this movie. Yeah, like more gorgeous than the average human being. But she's also really good in this, and she's not like a bitchy woman or like a nagging woman or anything. She's just like a totally like just normal. Like they didn't like stereotype her in this movie, which I kind of love.
Yeah,
she was cool.
Yeah,
she wasn't in the first one, right?
She was not. So that's one thing. Is that they did not get the original woman whose name I'm forgetting right now. From the first one, but they did find a way to put Jennifer Connelly. She is technically acknowledged in the first movie. I don't know if you remember. There's a throwaway line at the beginning of the movie where they talk about Maverick and how he's like a pain in the ass, and then they say something like he had like a weird thing or a fling. He messed around with an admiral's daughter. She is that admiral's daughter from then, which I was like, that's kind of because they talk about that she's an admiral's daughter in this movie, and so I was like, that's kind of cool that they still somehow found a way to make her not she's still kind of like a legacy character, even though you never really knew her from that first movie.
Unfortunately, if Kelly McGillis is the character, or that's the actress that you're thinking of, that played. What was the character's name? Charlotte. She doesn't look like Jennifer Connelly.
That is yes.
I don't even know if she even acts anymore. To be honest, I don't know if she's even about that. I'm pretty
sure she retired a while ago.
Yeah, so I think that was one of the reasons. But also, I do think they wanted the love interest to look a certain way.
Yeah, I think the other actor, she looks like a normal human being.
Yeah, she looks like a normal 64-year-old woman. Like
exactly.
Kelly McGillis is just living her damn life.
Right.
You don't want that in movies when they're alongside Tom Cruise. That's why everybody got so mad at Keanu Reeves for dating someone that looked like just a normal human being.
Right. Yeah.
It's like you're not 20 and you're not also gotten a ton of work and look like you're 20, even though you're 87. Blasphemy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was cool.
But she's great. One thing I had to say is that, damn it, Tom Cruise was right to delay this movie for 2 years, dude. Like, they made all the money. So all I gotta say is praise Xenu, man. Just praise
Scientology wins again.
Yeah, how many new converts did he get after this movie? No, I really love that scene that when he first goes in that bar and then she like rings him up because he broke the rule.
That
or whatever.
Bar rule is rough, dude.
Yeah. There was a lot of fucking people in that bar. Even if it's the fucking edge of town. No wonder shit got declined. It was $800 worth of bill.
I think he had to blow like $5,000 because there were a lot of people in there, and they were all.
There were a lot of people in there, and he had to do it twice.
Yeah, there's no way, dude. And it was busy the second time. I was like, no.
Yeah.
How much beers cost here?
Yeah.
What are they ordering? You ordered a mixed drink? No, fuck that idiot.
I'd be like, do I get a military discount?
It looked a lot like he was living in like a plane. A
shack
at the beginning of this movie. So this man does not have a lot of money, but
yeah, that sounds about how they treat their veterans.
Yeah.
But the first scene though, that was so wild. Okay, so that first scene,
the space stuff,
yeah, where that like spaceship like basically blows off the roof of that little guardhouse. They didn't expect that to happen, so they just had to go with that. It's like, yep, first take, that's all we got. So just
right.
So I don't know, and that kind of speaks to like the practical effects part of this movie, which I think was probably the number one thing that I loved about it.
It looks amazing, dude.
Yes. It definitely worked in their favor when it came to actually working with the military and getting like trained pilots to fly these planes and stuff like that. Because it got you, like you said, just really sincere moments. Like even though it was like happy accidents, we'll do a Bob Ross with it, where it's like this didn't mean to happen, but because we did practical effects, this was allowed to be even better than it possibly could have been. Because you got people actually really pulling off these maneuvers,
right? And like you can see it on the actors' faces because they're melting in their seats.
Yes, there is a couple of scenes where those G-forces are hitting. And Tom Cruise especially, his eyes are baggy as fuck because it makes you look old as shit. That is one thing that G-forces, they mush your face into this weird fucking mush of clay. and you see it a few times throughout the movie.
Right.
Yeah. So to get ready for it, apparently they had like a 3-month course that like all the actors took, I guess, that were going to be up there. And then like, I think Tom Cruise was the one that recommended it, but it basically just got them used to like, maybe some of the G-forces and stuff. And then I think, Oscar, you were saying how they actually filmed it. Like how they actually did it, like in the filming.
So like the actors, they were in the passenger seat, so they weren't actually flying, obviously. And they would have to get in there and set their cameras up themselves to record them. And there's a funny story where like Miles Teller fucked up and he accidentally recorded over his own footage. So when they wouldn't be able to know what they got. So they would have to wait for like an hour for them to come back down, check the footage, see if they got it, and if not, send their asses back up there. So it's like a really long delay to see if they even got anything. And you can see a fuck up that also another thing that Miles Teller did where there's a scene in the movie where he's not properly buckled in and he kind of like bounces and like almost hits his head. That was an accident, 1,000% accident. But they're like, fuck it, it works. Just keep it in the movie.
That's so crazy.
No, I love that kind of stuff. The way they did this movie is very intelligent and very cool. I heard that they were spending like $12,000 an
Something
hour
like that.
to like basically
to the Navy
to like rent out the ability to use these multi-million-dollar shuttles that they're using. Like these planes are expensive as hell.
Okay, and I think they did that. This movie did a much better job of like, okay, so the first one, right, like the dogfight at the end where they're just kind of randomly fighting some MiGs, which is also very funny how like both movies, they just don't acknowledge it all. Like they just call it like the other side.
I think the first one they do. I think the first one
they say it like,
I think I could be wrong, but yeah, they definitely make a point in this movie to not acknowledge what country the enemy
to the point
is.
where they show nothing. They don't even show the skin tone. They're wearing gloves. They're wearing long sleeves. Their helmets cover everything.
Yeah,
they were like, we're gonna make sure you don't know who the fuck this enemy
There's
can
no
be.
like
can
symbols
white, black,
or flags
Asian.
on anything. Nothing.
Yeah, Eastern Europe, somewhere in Eastern Europe, maybe vaguely, but they also have like 5th generation fighters. So anyway,
If you do the research, you can narrow it down to a couple of countries and figure it out. But whatever.
Yeah, but so in the dogfighting element of this one, though, I felt I was very much following the action of like knowing exactly what was going on. In the first Top Gun movie, it's very much like, what the fuck is going on right now? They're just kind of randomly flying around, and you're getting all your context clues by like the dialogue of like, oh, he's right on my tail, right over. This one, it's like you could actually kind of follow like what was going on by the shots that were happening. Sure. So it's like I really like that about
this movie. One big difference to why I think this movie works is that their training has a purpose. Like they're training for a mission and they're going to do that mission. Whereas the first one, it's like, we're just training and then, what happened, Chance? We have a random dogfight. Let's go do that, you know?
We're training and bad shit happens. That's the entire movie. That movie sucks so bad. It's such a bad movie. I don't know why that movie's held so highly in like that space, because that movie actually sucks really bad.
I mean, it goes on forever. And I checked like the time I paused it or something. I'm like, there's like 20 minutes left in this movie and they still haven't even mentioned the bad guys.
Right.
Nothing happens.
At the graduation, he's like, oh, you guys got to leave immediately to go fight in the war. It's like, what?
It's training. Bad shit happens. Goose dies. The volleyball scene somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And since you brought that up, let's talk about that. They actually like that. That is one of the best things about this movie is that everything has a purpose. Even the replaced volleyball game, which is now a double football game.
Stupid football team.
Double-sided football
Even
game.
that has a purpose in this movie.
Right.
Which was funny because it was very inclusive because they still want to do the thing where like there's still a lot of hot people that are very ripped for no reason. Very sweaty, very oily. And that was one of the moments that I did mark down as, yes, check, gay moment. But then also, of course, you have a woman. You have a dude that's like not super comfortable showing his body, so he keeps his shirt on, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, they're trying to new age it a little bit.
Bob?
Yeah, it was the black guy. I can't think of his call sign. He has a pretty cool call sign, actually. It's like Phantom or something.
I thought Bob kept his shirt on too. That's a hilarious
There probably were
sign,
multiple,
though.
yeah. It's not Tom Cruise's friend that worked with him at the space place as well?
It's the chunkier black dude. I can't. He has a very African name.
Yeah, he wasn't like one of the pilots. He was one of the teachers, basically. He was.
Yes.
He was fucking great in this movie, man.
He's amazing in this movie. He's been in a couple other things. I feel like he does a lot of military stuff for some reason. He has a lot of military movies.
Yeah,
I've seen him before.
He's funny in this movie when he's like making people do push-ups and he's great.
You can stop, man. You can stop.
His genuine goodbye when he's saying goodbye to Maverick, because basically they think they're all gonna go die. Basically, like I was like genuinely moved by his conversation with him. He's like, "All right, that's it. You might die."
Yeah, so that was one of those situations. I was like, yeah, this is really cool. They did some diversity in this. They got 2 black dudes in there. a woman.
Yeah.
That's a Latino woman, a Latino man.
Latino man. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
They do have a shit-eater white dude that kind of makes me mad. He's got a stupid grin.
Hangman?
You know the guy I'm talking about. Hangman.
Yeah.
Hangman.
The Iceman of this movie. Yeah.
Oh, God. He's got a look on his face that makes me want to uppercut him, dude.
He's great. Yeah.
Miles Teller, he's got that fucking face that he got that frat boy look, but then that dude did that one smile with a toothpick in his mouth, and I was like, I want to hurt this man. He looks like a piece of shit. And that was the whole point. I mean, he played his character well, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got a shit-eating grin if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, I think he did a very good job playing the douchebag.
I real quick, I wanted to jump to the opening and the fact that it looks like the original Top Gun. Like with this, like I was like starting the movie, it's like, what am I watching the right? Is this? Am I getting trolled here? Is this the first movie?
It felt like a Vice City kind of situation. It was like, we're just gonna put a overlay on this. What's going on?
But no, I thought that was cool. It was great. Yeah, so basically they're all training for this. Like most people have made this comparison, the Star Wars trench run. that's the mission. Got to fly a really narrow area and then shoot a very specific spot.
And it's one of those situations that feels like they make it like it's the most serious shit to ever happen, but it sounds like a pretty like normal mission. Like it's just like it's not like it's like the same. Like this isn't World War III where it's like if you guys don't do this shit, we lose the entire war. Everyone dies. It's like so we got this intel that like this shit's happening. If it does go through, like we got some bad shit's probably gonna happen afterwards. It's gonna cause a conflict. You guys will probably die from it. And it's like this isn't like galactic warfare. Like it's just like a normal fucking Tuesday in the military. Shit don't usually go like this.
Yeah,
what the fuck,
Brian? This is America. No one can have uranium. No one else.
It comes down to another one of those situations where it's like you guys are trying to do things for movies. Where it's like we have drone strikes. Like this isn't new news.
Right.
Like we don't need to send these. We got to find the best. Shonda Rhimes, you're the best person to do this job. That's what it felt very much like a Grey's Anatomy kind of situation where everyone's the best person ever to do everything ever.
Yeah.
Well, Maverick absolutely is.
Maverick is just the best. Yeah, at everything. Yeah.
Maverick is like a god.
We'll talk about that and his teaching regimen, which is just him showing off and him not actually teaching anybody anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that kind of situation. It was like, we don't probably need to do this, but that would have made a bad story. So we just had to allow it to go along. So sometimes you just have to let that shit go with the flow and enjoy the movie.
I love that trench, just like the comical amount of like Sams that were along that trench. It's just like every mountaintop just had this giant missile array. It's like, I feel like maybe this is overkill, but I don't know. It was clearly set up for the movie.
Rooster was stressed. Every single time Rooster took a left turn, that man was like, oh, fuck. Okay, it's good. Oh, shit.
Yeah, it was another one.
No one else cared as much as he did.
Right.
Yeah, so basically, Tom Cruise, he becomes the fastest man in the world because he hits, Mach 10 and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
He breaks the ship in the process. He crashes, he ruins the ship.
No one gives a fuck about these $20 million plus
especially
machines.
Maverick.
Like, at no point did they say that. Like, they're like, oh, you ruined the ship. No one's like, you ruined government property that cost us millions. You are dishonorably discharged. Fuck you.
Right.
Yeah. They're just like, oh,
no,
yeah,
but he
man.
hit Mach 10, so they keep the program alive, which they never really covered again.
No,
but,
they don't.
It's like, oh, I guess the program's still alive.
Yeah. And then, so that's how he ends up at Top Gun. That's his punishment, is that go teach these children now. But, I mean, they like the idea of Rooster being Goose's son, who is resentful to this man who, let's face it, Tom Cruise did not kill Goose. If anything, Iceman killed Goose. Iceman was too selfish and fucking around.
Yes, I 100% agree. I hate that he's the one that's blamed, and I hate that he accepts the blame and then doesn't try to explain it further. It's one of those movie tropes where it's like a simple conversation can solve so much, but all the characters refuse to have it for whatever reason. And this is what happened here. It's like, his he's like, oh, he set me 4 years behind because he took my name out of the program. And it's like, yeah, your mom doesn't want you to fly because Goose fucking died, your dad, over this shit. Of course she doesn't want you to fly.
I did like that moment where he talks, he's talking to Jennifer Connelly. She's like, why haven't you told him that his mom didn't want him to fly? That's why you did it.
I don't want to resent his mom too. Therapy exists.
Yes.
I don't care whether or not you hate your dead mom because she made that decision.
Right.
Tom Cruise did not have anything to do with that. So, like, whether you resent her or not is on you.
Yeah.
Go to therapy, figure that out.
That's very true.
And understand why she felt the way that she felt about this situation. If you resent her after that, then you suck. That's on you. I don't know.
That's fair. No, that's fair. I do like they just kill Meg Ryan off screen. Like, yeah, she's dead. She's not in this movie.
They did a lot of that.
Clearly, she died of something. It would be weird if she died of cancer, considering someone else in this movie dies of cancer. So I'd like to imagine, what if Tom Cruise killed her too? He just took her on a plane ride as a friend, and she also got goosed.
Oh my god!
Pulled a Spider-Man. Got goosed.
That's also why Miles Teller hates him.
Okay, that would be a very justified reason for Rooster to hate him. Like,
that's why he was kind of like, I don't really want to get in this plane with you, bro. You sent to kill people in this plane. That explains all the shits he did.
Also, how do they still let Maverick
killed
fly?
both of his parents. Jesus.
Oh my god! They had to have that for the dramatic tension between them, and then for them to like get together at the end, because the whole movie was really setting up for that last part where they got to fly the old the F-14,
which that was pretty
maybe.
dope. How they somehow managed a pretty clever way to get the OG Tomcat plane in this movie. Somehow they somehow nailed to do it. Like I don't know how they did this. How'd they do it?
Now I do have opinions on that. Since we're talking about, I can talk a little bit about it. How the end of this movie went from being, very Top Gun, whatever, it's all about flying planes, turning into Metal Gear Solid. This man solos a Hind D in the middle of the fucking snow.
Right.
And I'm like, what's happening here? He's just like, oh, I'll hide behind this fucking dirty ass tree that cannot, all these bullets would go straight through the shit. They're designed to literally pierce metal armor of a plane. But they don't go through one tree log? Okay, whatever. That's fine. It's fine. It's a Hind D. There's a big-ass bullet.
I was very happy that this movie didn't become like a weird military shooter on the ground. Like, they were very immediate to get them back in a plane and back in the air. I was like, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God.
I think it was another thing about, like, not trying to show what the enemy or who the enemy was, where they're just like, oh, the enemy's there. They're running in smoke. Still can't see who they are, even though they have their helmets off.
Right.
Still can't tell who they are.
I do love how, like, they are clearly not as competent when they're not flying a plane. They're like running, just quickly walking to get to the plane. Like, we got to get in the plane. Go, 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 go.
Welcome to the Naval Air Force. You are not trained in weaponry.
Yeah.
I was talking to Devin about that off air. It's funny that, like, this man is, like, even though he's early in his career of being a pilot, he's also the best of his, like, graduating class or whatever. But then as soon as he gets into the fucking plane with Maverick, it's all just, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit.
He's like losing. He doesn't know what to do. Yeah.
It's like, part of it's like, yeah, I get you're getting shot at by like real people, and that's pretty scary. But also, it's like, it felt like you never actually rode in a plane before, bro.
Right. Yeah.
Despite piloting one. I don't know,
man. It's all so old.
I do like, they somehow, they nailed, by the end of it, from what I can remember, they nailed every piece of nostalgia this movie had, except for Need for Speed. The line, you feel the need for speed. I was like, are they gonna do it? Are they gonna somehow do it? And they didn't, which is probably for the best.
I'm glad they did not.
Yes. But like, they nailed the whole thing where like he first shows up upside down above one of them, like in the original. He even gets like a flyby at the very end of the movie. And but funny enough, when I first saw it, there were people in the audience that clapped when he did that. I was like,
yes,
oh,
really? Absolutely.
Oh boy.
I had a lot of clappers in my theater.
Yeah.
They were definitely getting really excited whenever he did anything.
Yeah.
They were Tom Cruise fans who've ever seen them.
I love that one shot of like when they're first training and he like slices the air between them and both the planes just kind of like fly to the side and they're like, oh my God, like he's right there. Like that was so sick.
He really didn't give a fuck.
That really happened though, right?
Yeah.
Like that was like a real thing. So these pilots just had to be so. I get maybe they were Top Gun pilots, or I'm not sure, but I mean
they were the military. I mean, that's the whole reason why, like, Tom Cruise, he wanted to fly so badly, but you can't fly a plane unless you're in the military. So
you're right. No, yeah, I assume these are the best of the best that also got chosen to help in this movie.
Right.
But no, yeah, they were doing amazing stuff, and like you said, the fact that it was practical is like they're actual people that are this crazy at flying a plane, and that's so cool.
There are some of those maneuvers from the enemy ships that are like, he's like doing like handbrake turns in a plane at one point. I'm like, what? How?
That's another thing to chop down to, like, just technology. Even Maverick was like, what the fuck? And I was like, yeah, dude, we're at a pretty high point when it comes to air combat.
It's
when it comes
nuts,
down to
man.
It. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I love those.
He's flying this plane like Dom Toretto.
That was my thing. It's like, we always talk about how Maverick was so good, but then you saw that there was that one motherfucker that didn't get shot down by Maverick. Yeah. And I was like, that man's fucking good. Y'all better see if he can get on the American military. Like, see what his name is, what color he is. We need to get him in.
We need a name for this man.
Because that man was doing some crazy
His helmet comes off, it's the corpse of Goose.
I'm back, motherfucker. It's Iceman.
Ooh,
he can't talk. Plot twist. He's typing on his computer. Fuck you, Maverick.
From like for the pilots, like it had to be fun for them too, because like they probably get to do stuff like, you know how like the hard deck is like, I guess 5,000 feet just as a standard. Like, so for them, they're getting to fly like 200 feet above the ground.
Right.
And like do stuff like that they never would be able to do, normally because of safety standards. So I don't know. It's just I bet it was really, really fun for the pilots too.
For sure, I can
Which
imagine.
I do love that moment where Tom Cruise does the trench run by himself against once again he has to be defiant because that's Maverick, and he does it in the time allotted, and that's once again saving his ass to keep him on the program.
Lower than the time allotted. The time allotted was 2:30.
Right.
He did it in under 2:15.
Like he killed it.
Yeah.
He did like 2:13. That's wild.
Well, no, it's just funny because like it's like you said how he was a shitty teacher. Like he basically did just flex on them for 2 weeks, and it's like, oh wait, they're gonna cancel the mission unless I prove to them that they like unless I build some confidence in them that they can actually do this. And then he goes and does it himself and flexes on them again.
Why didn't he do that from the start?
But that's the thing. He didn't flex on them to teach them better. He flexed on him so he could be on the fucking squad. He just wanted to do it himself. He took a job from someone else because he never wanted to teach. He wanted to do it himself.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what he got what he wanted.
Yep.
Maybe you should be the team lead because he was like, oh, I got to pick a team lead. Who would I pick? Myself. Obviously you would. You piece of shit. You love you.
He does love himself, but that's the thing. Like we all know that Maverick was going to be on that mission at the end. Like, oh, they're like, oh, you got to pick your team. It's like, okay, so Maverick somehow is going to be on that mission. Like,
also, he had to have the tragedy. It had to be the callback of like, oh, now I'm saving someone because I couldn't save him beforehand. It was the Andrew Garfield situation with Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. Now I have to save someone because I couldn't do it before.
Which was like very cool that like it was Goose's, like Rooster. I do love that the story went to that where it's like Rooster and Maverick, and then this time it works out. So
you knew it had to be the two of them in a plane together at some point.
And I think that's the best thing about this movie that I've really appreciated the most is it has that Fast and Furious energy where I think it finally understood itself.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is not the best writing in the world. The best things don't happen in the world. A lot of it's very cliche. Like the point, like we talked about, like Goose and Rooster, the parallels to the point where man's got the same mustache, plays the same song on piano. Like, who is that obsessed with their father to the point where it's like, I'm going to dress and look exactly like him? Like, that's pretty fucking weird.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. But he did it to like make a very obvious ham-fisted kind of like situation. Like, oh, he's a splitting image of his father, whatever. But it worked.
Yeah.
For some reason, it was just so annoyingly obvious that it worked. Fast and Furious has been very good at that. Once they started to understand what they were doing, they got so annoying about what they were doing that it just made sense. Because like if I'm making like a drama or whatever, that'd be dumb as fuck. I'd be like, of course that's Rooster. Look at him.
Yeah.
But like they nail it, and they kind of do it kind of like almost some things they with the nostalgia they hit with twists where it's like as Rooster's playing Great Balls of Fire, it's not a happy moment for Tom Cruise. Like he's like that's traumatizing to him. Like he's then seeing flashes of Goose, saddish. Like his dead best friend, and like so I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Also,
his vein was bulging so far out of his neck, Miles Teller, when he's singing that song. Like, who goes that hard for Great Balls of Fire? And how does the whole bar know that song? Like, man, that song is dated. It is not a banger. Okay, Great Balls of Fire is not a banger.
Someone's been playing that every day since Goose died.
How about I say, welcome to the Bible Belt. It's a banger over there.
Maybe it's a Top Gun thing, but I don't know. That song is not a banger, but the whole crowd was going in on that song.
He said his neck fade. About to catch a nosebleed over this.
He was that. Like he looked like he was flexing so hard. Like I was like, bro,
he had to keep them titty muscles going.
Maybe
good.
It was like those like drunk singing where like you don't realize how much you're actually straining when you're drunk.
And Miles Teller was going in on that song.
But I guess speaking of characters who died / are dying, Iceman, Val Kilmer is in this movie, and I think he's used really well in this movie. Most people might know Val Kilmer had throat cancer, or has. I can't remember. I believe
he still has it.
Okay.
I read an article that said as far as 2020 on, he is currently eating through a tube because he cannot feed himself at this point.
Right.
That was 2 years ago. I don't know if it's gotten better, but it sounds like it hasn't.
That's very interesting because, like,
from throat cancer.
When I first saw this, I was like, how weird would it be if he still had, and clearly it sounds like he still does. So that is weird that he has it in real life and he plays a character who literally dies of it in this movie. So that's like I was like, if he was in remission, it might be a different thing, but it's kind of weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, well, that's what I thought he like beat it. Like I thought he was in remission because it's like, it seems like a very dark thing to do with that character because they were very on the nose with it. Like it's not like they were, doing anything else. And it's like, yeah, he died. And that's another thing is like, I know they had to remove the safety net from Maverick. So, but I don't know. I didn't like that they killed Iceman because of that. Like I would have liked it but I just wish that maybe
someone had to die.
That was my thing. I don't know that it should have been Iceman. I don't know that was the most impactful way you could have gone about it.
Right.
Maverick might have been too on the nose. Maybe it could have been one of the black dudes.
At one point, like I was like, one of my moments of tension was like when they're training and it's like not going well. Like Miles Teller's like freaking out. He almost crashes his plane. Then Fanboy blacks out.
That would have made sense.
I'm like, who's gonna be Goose? Who's going to be Goose? I was like, it's not going to be the one woman on the crew. There's no way she's going to die. So I was like, I don't know who could it be. And then Iceman dies. And I was like, okay, maybe that's it then. That's it.
Unfortunately, I knew if it wasn't Iceman, it would have to be Tom Cruise.
Yeah, one of the OGs.
Probably. Enough for you to care? Probably.
Right. It would have had to, like, it just would have been a good, tight fit, And some situations like that where you're trying to make amends and stuff, it's usually that character.
Yeah. It just does feel kind of shitty that like they wrote that for Val Kilmer's character as he's currently battling, or maybe he just got done battling.
He might be
cancer.
in remission. I'm not sure. It might just be that he had so much damage that now he's struggling with the after effects of it.
Yeah, I mean, like he can't really speak. So they did have a conversation where like they were trying to find a way to get him in. So obviously he types in this movie to converse with Tom Cruise. Mostly you see through text messages. Then they actually have a meeting and you get to see him in the flesh. And they have actually a sweet scene where, in order to motivate Maverick, because Maverick's sad right now, and he speaks, and I had to Google it because I wasn't sure, but it actually is Val Kilmer. Him and the director came to a consensus, and Val Kilmer said, "I want to say these lines. I think that'll carry more weight." So he actually spoke those lines, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those scary things that, like you said, it kind of sucks, but I mean, it happens pretty often where it's like, you have a really old character that plays in a show where they're very old and they die in the show, where it's like, they're pretty close to dying as it is because they're in their, their late 80s and not doing well. Is that kind of situations like, are you prepared to act out a scene that's probably going to happen to you fairly soon? Not to say it's going to happen to Val Kilmer, but it's just like one of those situations where it's like,
it's kind of scary.
If I was, if I had like a pretty bad disease and then they want me to die from that disease on a TV show, I don't know, man. That's hard. You have to watch yourself die. Like that's hard.
It's pretty,
right. And that's the whole thing with Val Kilmer. It's like I kind of wish they left it on a more hopeful note instead of being like, no, he died from it. It's like, damn, dude, that feels kind of mean to Val Kilmer, like for what he's thinking about. So
at the grand scheme of things, like I don't want to say there's no reason for it because I do think it did add drive to Tom Cruise. Now Maverick has no more people to save him from his bullshit, whatever. But it also could have been the same without him dying. You know what I mean? Like I don't think I would have been upset for him to stay alive. It didn't add enough for me to be like, this needed to happen.
Because I don't think I would have been upset if no one died by the end of this movie. Like if
exactly,
I think I still would have liked
kind of movie.
Yeah, just as much.
Yeah.
I
don't think it would have been upsetting.
But I also do wonder if it's a thing where like based just because of the way Val Kilmer is right now, his life. What more can you do with him after? If you do like a sequel, which we'll talk about at the end, I don't think they should. But if you were to, like, I don't know how much more you can do with that character anyways, I guess maybe they were thinking. So it's like, why not kill him off? I don't know.
True.
He can do other things, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he can't fly a plane, obviously, but like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that man's like an Admiral Grade 3 or some shit. He's not going to fly a plane anyway. It doesn't matter. He's at the point where he's doing paperwork no matter what.
Yeah, very true.
I will say, let's get to the actual trench run. There was one moment that like actually almost got me like to the verge of tears, and it's when Miles Teller's freaking out, and he just says, "Talk to me, Dad," and like
talk to me,
just
Dad.
The call back to the "Talk to me, Goose." I was like, "Oh fuck that!" It just nailed. I don't know what it was. It was just like all of the emotions and the everything was happening in that scene. It just worked for me. I was like, "Damn, that was good."
Because Maverick said it, all the time.
Yeah.
So when he finally said it about his dad that he's obviously copying, it was kind of like,
I mean, it's also like a movie thing. It's like, why would he know that? But whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, no, it's one of those situations. It's very cliche, but it still hits right. They use it at the perfect time to make it feel good.
I do love like they crash and it's just they nail it. They do the trench run. Everything goes to plan pretty much, except for Miles Teller has to shoot it without his aiming bot because it's fucking up.
But he's so fucking good. He does it anyway because he's the best.
He's Luke. It's Star Wars.
He trusts in the Force. It is Star Wars.
Use the Force, Rooster. Use the Force.
Maverick is very much the Obi-Wan in this movie.
Rooster, he's turning his targeting computer off. What are you doing?
And then they crash. Tom Cruise sacrifices himself to save Rooster, and he does the whole handbrake turn type of thing that he does, and helps him.
Because homeboy ran out of fucking smokes.
Yeah,
rookie move.
Yeah,
Come on, bro.
It was really funny when then Rooster comes back to save him. It also gets shot down, and they both just like meet up in the forest. And he's like, "What the hell are you doing? I was trying to save you." And he's just like, I stopped thinking. Like, it's just what you told me to do. Like, I felt, I just felt it was like the right thing to do. He's like, well, damn, you got me there.
He was like, yeah, I saved your life. He was like, I saved your life. That was the point.
Right.
And he's like, what were you thinking? You told me not to think.
Right.
It's like, yeah.
Okay,
I can't say anything. But I do love that once they're in the air and they start the fight, Tom Cruise just immediately, because he knows they're fucked. He knows he can't win 1-on-2 at that point. So he immediately just turns and shoots one immediately down, trying to take it out. I was like, he's got a game plan at least.
That was very smart. Just like instantly make it 1-on-1.
I'm glad they had a dogfight.
Yeah.
I was kind of worried they weren't going to have any dogfight at all with the way that things were going. And then that happened. I was like, oh, okay, I guess they're just going to go home, get that new ship and stuff. And they're like, oh, 2 new bogeys, boys. We don't know what we're going to do. And I was like, yes.
Right.
This is the shit that we want. We want a dogfight. Can Maverick kill more?
Because they're like on the back of the whole fight. Like, they are not doing well.
No. Like you said, it was Generation 5 fighters, and they were driving a fucking F-14 from the 80s.
They were fucked. There's no way they can win.
Man's got 150 rounds and 1 missile. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Again, they did hand signals with the enemy. They did not know what language they spoke.
He's like giving them thumbs up.
He's like, I've never seen that one before either. That one? Nope. None.
He's like, just wave and nod. Just wave and nod.
That was pretty funny because it's like, we still don't even know what languages people speak. We didn't hear any of like, even during the time where everyone was like scrambling to get to their jets and shit, I didn't hear any words being spoken, no languages being said. Like, just any kind of language, nothing. There was no word spoken.
But I kind of like that because it made it like you didn't have to think about the geopolitical pressure of the situation.
I mean,
all about this dogfight and this thing, and that I kind of like.
Because you got to upset someone if you do it, and that kind of sucks. So it's like, well, we can't show this in Russia now because we said it was Russia. You know what I mean? Like shit like that.
Yeah, we can't show this in China now because exactly.
So no, I do appreciate that, but it was kind of just funny.
In China anyway, right? Because there was something about the Taiwanese flag.
Because I think in the original, his jacket has like a Taiwan flag on it, I think, which I think they removed in this one, but I think there was still some controversy or something like that.
No. I think in the first one, it's that they wouldn't put it on, and then this one they did on purpose to like make it more of a middle finger to China.
Oh shit!
I see.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Then they should have just made the enemy China. That would have been a big middle finger.
Oh shit!
Yeah, true. But I think, I guess it's a very pro-American military. Maybe it wouldn't have made it to China anyway, but just nail that in.
And then Hangman, because they had to get Hangman to do something. He's just sitting. He's sitting in his plane, like, please, just give me an excuse. Let me fly, please.
He was too pretty. He had to do something.
And he gets to save the day and save them at the last.
Fucking Glenn Powell has the weirdest smile I've ever seen before in my life. That man has not a single centimeter of lip. So when he smiles, it looks almost like akin to goddamn It. Despite him being a very pretty man, don't get me wrong. Like, the dude's very attractive, but he has a weird ass face. And he looks so fucking... He's such a shit eater.
He's great. Yeah, he nailed the role, man. He was great.
He nailed the role. What do I know him? I know him from fucking Spy Kids. So it's funny to see him. Oh, you don't remember from Spy Kids?
No.
Oh, God, dude. I can't remember what the character is. That's what I know him from.
What the fuck?
He's grown up a lot since then, obviously, because that was, 20 years ago?
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That's hilarious. I guess also, at least one of my last few notes is, I think it's interesting that Tom Cruise is being romantic with women again. Because it's been like, I don't know if you've noticed, like, he doesn't really have a love interest in a lot of his recent movies, and I think it's because people think he's a weird fucking dude. But he gets like a whole sex scene with Jennifer Connelly in this movie.
I appreciate the way they went about that. They didn't go too far into it. They kissed, looking into their eyes, and then they talked. And I was like, okay, thank God. I'd have to see fucking 2 minutes of pumping from Tom Cruise while staring into the beautiful eyes of Jennifer Connelly, because that was going to make me super uncomfortable, and I probably would have left the theater.
Yeah.
So they kept it tasteful.
Although I will say, Tom Cruise sneaking out of her house was very funny.
Yes. It's the daughter seeing him after he did all of that shit, and they talked all that shit about him.
But it's also hit with like a more dramatic moment where she says, "Don't break her heart again."
Right.
Like it's like it's played for laughs, but then it's also like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. He's like, "I'm never gonna leave you again," and then he jumps out the window, and it's like, "Oh, I'm staring you directly in your face."
Right.
13-year-old girl. Hello.
Yeah. That reminds me, and he was really bad about this in the first movie too, but fucking use a helmet on your motorcycle, dude. This man goes 85 miles an hour
He's
everywhere.
too cool, man.
And he never wears a helmet.
He's in the fucking neighborhood going fucking 100.
He didn't even protect Jennifer Connelly. She wasn't wearing a helmet either. It's like, bro, this is horrible.
Helmets aren't cool,
safety.
Man. Come on.
Let's not have Maverick die in like a 25-mile-an-hour collision because he wasn't wearing a fucking helmet. Like, Jesus.
I will say, though, Jennifer Connelly in this movie, does one of the sexiest things I've ever seen in my entire life, where she walks into her house and just leaves the door open. I was like, that was smooth as fuck.
Homegirl got game. I'll give her that.
She does. She does.
I would have never thought that was the thing to do, but she threw that one.
Yeah, that was sick. She was cool. She was very cool.
She was great. Yeah, I do like that. Yeah, they end up together. Hopefully, okay. Let's talk about a sequel to this, because it's like we said, it's probably going to cross $1 billion, and people are only going to see $1 billion. Like, hey, we can make another $1 billion off another one. Don't do it. Please don't do it. This movie was perfect, like one of the best like legacy sequels to a franchise probably ever. Like, it's up there with, I don't know, The Matrix Resurrections.
That saying is pretty low.
Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
I mean, as far as money goes, yes, it would be up there with Star Wars and the remaking and making the new trilogy that happened there. As far as reception wise, no. Right. God no, Jesus Christ. But no, that was the thing that we talked about off air, you and me, Oscar, where it's like, as far as it comes to like a lot of movies, especially around this mark right now, there have been a lot of things that have been made from nostalgia for us. I mean, Sonic the Hedgehog made their first movie in 2019, or stuff like that, where it's like, you're making movies from things that have come out a long time ago. This has been the best iteration of that I've seen thus far. Usually, if I've seen a reimagining of anything that's come out after a long time, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a big one with Michael Bay, stuff like that. It's always a trash can. It's a dumpster fire. It's not inspired. It's not good. It's not well made. It's for money. This felt like the people cared. And I think it shows. And I think the money that it's making shows as well, that this is a very good movie. And I don't say that very often with these kind of things that come out, because I do think they're usually cash grabs. So,
but I got bad news for you guys. They're going to make another.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, absolutely.
Hollywood is such like a banger bust business, and like when you have a banger, you have to capitalize on it. And they're going. I feel like it's only a matter of time.
I'm telling you, it sucks because like monetarily, I will always understand it. I completely get why you would make another one, because even at worst, people are going to be excited about it, and they will give you a lot of money. Even if they won't.
I'd go see it at this point.
Even if it's not good reception, they're still going to give you a lot of money for it. Right. And I guess that's the win in all things. Like, it doesn't matter how the fuck you rate it. You gave me a lot of money. But at the same time...
Jurassic World.
Yeah. There's a certain, like, respect that I just give for things that just know when to end.
Yeah.
Schitt's Creek could have easily gone on for 3-4 more seasons. It probably would end up dying and falling into a quiet scream and being a terrible show. But they chose to end it because they knew they didn't have anything else worthwhile to tell in that story. Do that with more things. Last of Us. I even like Last of Us 2. I thought it was a very good game. But I do think it would have been a better thing if it just didn't even try to make anything to close that gap that already those questions we had could have remained open-ended, and we would have been left with that. Amazing. Perfect.
Yeah.
Those kind of things, I just think we need more of that in the world. Top Gun Maverick is that. Leave it as that.
It was like lightning in a bottle. You did it. Don't do it again.
Don't touch it ever again. Leave that shit in a museum. We'll look at it for years to come. I'll buy the DVD. Whatever it takes for you to not do this ever again, I will do it.
I really hope they will listen to you guys, but I fear
they will not. There's no way.
My last thing is, what would your call sign be?
Ooh.
Mine is gonna be GOAT, because that would be the greatest of all time.
Oh shit, boy!
Either that, or I would just alpha Maverick and pick Maverick just to see what he'd do.
You'd be murdered within the week. He's going to take you on a motorcycle ride without a helmet. Kill your ass.
No, he's going to take me on a plane ride and eject me like Goose.
Oh, no. He's going to goose your ass. For me, we've already talked about it multiple times on this podcast. Mine would obviously be Lil Dick Dan. No question. Getting that shit right on the top of my helmet.
That's a lot of letters on there.
Lil Dick Dan. Dan for short.
Lil Dick Dan.
Oh, that's funny.
That's funny. I don't know what mine would be. Better than Bob. I got to do better than Bob.
You got to do better than Bob.
How about like Frederick? You know, like something very like
you said better than Bob. What the fuck?
Just something like very official, like a very long monarch name or something very dumb and like with
I'm trying
10
to think
syllables.
for you,
Philip.
I feel like it has to do something with your height. Like you're a pretty tall dude.
Tall boy.
Ooh.
But tall boy's lame. Like tall boy, like the beer. You don't drink enough beer, I feel like, for you to be tall boy.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
But tall boy kind of fits with the aesthetic of those ones. But yeah, I don't know.
I was gonna say something around Lee, but I can't think of anything cool around Lee. Maybe Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee.
My call sign would be Shaquille O'Neal.
They call me Shaq.
They call me Shaq.
My name is Shaq, but it's a white guy.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, those are most of my notes. Is that all your notes for you guys?
Yeah. I mean, this is a great movie.
Yeah, very good movie.
If you haven't seen it yet.
It was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, if you're into anything like slightly action, you'll probably like this movie. This is a really good movie.
Yeah.
Surprise hit. Very much so. And I even went into this knowing that people were saying it was great, and it still fucking lived up to it.
Yeah, yeah. Like the expectations, like the hype was like justified. It wasn't like it didn't ruin it for me.
I was afraid it was going to be overhyped, but no, I really enjoyed it. And I'm one of the more critical people on this earth. If you are an owner of a white dad, 100% take them with you. They will love you a little bit more as a white dad for taking them to see this movie.
Yeah.
And so many movies try to like do this, right? Like, and all movies try to do this, right? Like be entertaining while trying to say something, but also like, tell a good story. Like, and so few of them actually like hit on all cylinders. And this one just, it's a rare thing that like, it just basically hit on every level of just like entertainment, action, good dramatic storytelling, and I don't know, just very like hats off to the director in the studio.
Which quick shout out, Joseph Kosinski is the director. He did Tron Legacy as one of the movies, which is also, in my opinion, a great Legacy sequel.
I like Tron Legacy. I think it's better than Tron personally. I don't like Tron
Absolutely.
that much.
He also did Oblivion, and he also directed the Mad World Gears of War trailer, the first ever Gears of War trailer. That's where he started.
That's a deep ass cut, bro. Everyone loved that trailer.
That's an OG. That's like a great video game.
Honestly, that makes this movie make a lot more sense because I do feel a little bit of a parallel to that in that trailer. Weird enough to say. Wild. Good for him.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Love to see a king win.
Right. All right, that is our main topic. Shall we move on to our final segment of the week, guys?
Oh, man.
Which we like to call Free for All, title pending. Devin is very excited.
I'm very worried.
I've been waiting to share mine with you guys for days now, okay?
This is a segment, listeners, where we can do whatever we want. We can recommend something. We can take an app. We can do anything. Devin, go.
Okay. And you guys are going to know exactly what I'm talking about if you've seen this movie. Have you seen the movie Molly's Game?
No, I haven't yet.
Okay. This is based on a true story, okay? About like a secret like poker like group.
That's the one with Jessica Chastain, right?
Yes. And it's a really good movie. Like I haven't finished it yet. However, I started looking into it as we were watching the movie. And we're going to watch
How are you going to tell me about a movie that you haven't finished yet? What? It's also a movie. It's not a TV show. You didn't finish a movie?
My girlfriend has watched the whole movie, and she was telling me about it. Okay, but it's about real people. So Molly is the main character, and she was like this former like Olympic athlete, or trying to be an Olympic athlete, but she like got injured, whatever. So she moved to LA and then just kind of fell into this, like arranging this poker night, right? For these like big shots around LA. And one of them is played by Michael Cera, who she calls Player X. But she also wrote a book about this stuff. And she's very careful to leave a lot of them unnamed. But like there's people that suspect that it's like...
I've heard this story.
Ben Affleck.
Oh, I think
I've heard this story.
And like
yes.
people,
really crazy.
Leo DiCaprio, like people like that. But she names one player who is an absolute monster. He's a dick.
Yeah.
And like there's some anecdotes in the movie that are like true that what he did. So like there's one play where like he's like, I swear on my mother's life, dude, if I have you. And he baits this player into like throwing away a great hand, and as soon as he does, he's like, "Fuck you!" I had a worse hand than you. Like I bluffed and got away with it, and like everybody's like, "This is super poor taste." And he says he likes to ruin people's lives, like in the movie. And I don't know if that's true in real life, but either way, yeah. So, but in real life, though, there's a story about a producer who got like massively in debt to him, and that he said that like, okay, all your winnings are mine, all your debts are yours, or something like that. Like to a certain point where like they were just kind of stuck in the game, right? But like they were like hedge fund managers that would come and just lose tons of money. They were shitty players, but they just wanted to like be in the room to like get deals with like these other big shots of like, NFL owners and just these crazy group of elite poker game, right? But this horrible person that I want you guys to know that she named by name, okay, in the book, was allegedly Tobey Maguire.
Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
Tobey Maguire is allegedly a fucking horrible person, but also really good at poker.
I read an article about this actually, and I read one that was really long about specifically this, and I read about like that book that came out about it. That's very like a memoir about there's their dealings with Tobey Maguire and that he's a super big dick.
Yeah,
which I think is kind of. I mean, we've seen his dealings with paparazzi, and I know paparazzi are what they are, and they're pretty fucking annoying. So you can be seen in a poor light, despite you just be having a bad day and people just treat you poorly. We've all had it happen to us as normal people. Tobey Maguire seems to have a little bit more than a normal average person.
He seems like he's psychotic.
Despite not being a huge actor.
Seems a lot better now, but there was a period of time where he was a big piece of shit. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast, but like allegedly he was in that crew with Leonardo DiCaprio that they called like the Pussy Bandits or some shit. The Pussy Posse or some shit. And all they would try to do is go out and get laid, and they weren't the best human beings. Like,
Wow.
I've said it before. I don't say it again. Do not have any kind of strong feelings towards any famous person. They are all weird and they are all broken.
Right.
Stop. Every single time you hear something that crazy comes out about a person, that he seems like a good guy. No, he's not. He's rich. He's not a good person. He's a bad person.
Yeah.
That is why he is rich. Stop.
Yeah. But apparently Tobey Maguire's made like tens of millions of dollars on poker because like basically she would find him players that were like bad, but they were like rich. And like this one character that's in the movie, like he's a head fund manager and he sucks. And she's like, listen, you need to take lessons or something. She's like, I'm gonna not like let you come next week. And he's like, no, like please let me stay, because even though I'll lose like 50, or 5 million or something, whatever in one night, like I'll make a deal for like 10 million or like, something through my hedge fund. So I'm just here to like kind of shoot the shit with these people in this room.
Wild.
That's the kind of stuff that she was dealing with. Like, so I don't know. I just thought it was very fascinating that this, like, I'm always kind of curious about this stuff with like Hollywood and sports and like, kind of how these people actually live and like what they do in their free time. And this was like just very eye-opening in that regard. So, but yeah, Tobey Maguire, piece of shit.
Do you know the name of the book?
Apparently.
I'll probably end up looking it up after the podcast, but for the listeners, do you know the name of the book?
I think it's called Molly's Game.
Molly's Game?
Pretty sure.
Okay. Yeah, I'll probably end up reading that at some point because it sounded super interesting when I read the article about it.
Yeah.
I had some excerpts of the actual book itself.
Yeah. And then the other one that was written by like the producer, like somebody from a different perspective, I think was called Hollywood Heist. Of just like how they would just like basically rob people blind. But yeah, Tobey Maguire apparently was making some good money off people because he's a very good poker player, but also merciless. So.
Yeah.
I can see it. You can see it in his eyes. It was just the way he looks.
Yeah. He looks like he could be a crazy person.
So that was a shocking thing to witness. And like I feel like people aren't talking about it enough.
Well, I mean, it's because for one thing, it happened like a decade or two ago at this point.
Right. So maybe they did talk about it back then, but it feels like he was so exploited.
It's the same situation of like BoJack Horseman, where it's like BoJack Horseman talks about a character that's really shitty to all of his cohorts when he did a family television show, and he's a really bad person and had alcohol abuse and ruined everyone's lives that he was around. That show's about Bob Saget. But we don't talk a lot about that. That Bob Saget was probably also a bad person. Like that's the whole reason that show exists, because it's making fun basically of Bob Saget and his dealings with.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
What was the show that he was in with the Olsen twins or whatever?
Full House.
Family Matters.
Yeah.
Full House.
What'd you call it?
Family Matters.
Yeah, Family Matters had black people in it, so no, not that one.
Bob Saget was actually Urkel.
But yeah, that show's about him. So it's one of those situations where it's like, if you look hard enough, you'll end up finding out a lot of things about a lot of people that you probably love. I mean, Bill Cosby was another one where it's like, I grew up on that show. It wasn't very often that you saw black characters be portrayed in that light. And then you find out later that like, oh no, he's a super awful person.
But see, like we like know that now, you know what I mean? Like as a society, but like I just never knew this about Tobey Maguire, right? I feel like we just don't. It's not like well enough. Like I feel like I should have had mixed emotions watching No Way Home, because it's like now I know that Spider-Man's a horrible person in real life. Like I didn't know this. I'm like, oh, Tobey Maguire, what a guy.
I'm telling you, Ezra Miller is currently kidnapping children and can't be fucking found. So
they need help, man.
Yes,
they need a lot of help.
I'm very nervous about that whole story, and I hope that people don't end up not alive from that. But I do just think it comes down to that thing of just famous people aren't okay. They just aren't okay. And I don't know if it's...
Especially starting young.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
Young and fame.
And that's the thing. It's like, I don't know if becoming famous fucks you up. I think if you're a child, absolutely. or if it's like if you're just fucked up and you have to be fucked up to become famous.
I also think it's different from person to person, maybe.
Right.
But
Yeah,
like
I don't know.
it's yeah.
You lose sight. It's rough.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're in a different plane of existence, apparently.
You are. I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine being in
like,
those kind of positions. Like, it's wild.
It's weird. It's weird as fuck. Good recommendation though, Devin. I've been meaning to watch that for a while now.
Yeah, the movie itself is very good. Very, very good.
Or at least half of it is.
Right. At least half. Yeah. From what I've seen so far.
I'll get the book. Maybe I'll watch the movie, but I'll definitely get the book.
I'll quickly go next. I'm still playing catch up on some free-for-alls that I've had and collected over the couple weeks. So a couple weeks ago, I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, hell yeah.
I went to the theaters because I was like, I want to see this in theaters before it leaves. Man, I fucking loved this movie, dude.
Really?
It's weird as fuck, but I really enjoyed it. It's weird. It's very funny, surprisingly. And the action is great. Like, it's a solid movie. I don't want to give anything away because I do think you should just go into this blind and just see how you feel by the end of it. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. It is, I'm pretty sure, an A24 film, so there's going to be some weirdness to it. But again, it's funny how we're all doing a bunch of multiversal movies lately. But this one was the weirdness that again, I'm comparing to everything to Doctor Strange when it comes to multiverse, like how I thought the recent Chip and Dale's was the multiverse that Doctor Strange should have been. Same thing with this. This is the multiverse that the Doctor Strange should have been. It's weird as fuck. Weird shit happens. But it's like, I don't know how they really got me. And it's also very emotional at times. It tells a good story. Maybe it can be a little confusing at times. And by the end, there are probably things you could nitpick because of how weirdly confusing it could be. But by the end of it, I was like, that was a great movie. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the hell out of it. And Michelle Yeoh, I love how she's having like a real big resurgence, at least an American resurgence, and since like Shang-Chi and a lot of shit like that. She's fucking fantastic. She's great. And I did hear that they originally wanted it to be Jackie Chan, which I thought would have been cool. But I do love the dynamic that having Michelle Yeoh as your lead, a woman who's like, she's like 60 or nearly 60 years old, and it's fucking amazing, dude.
Yeah, she's 59, I believe.
Yeah. And like having her be your lead, who kicks ass, is funny, and like does all this shit, like you don't see that very often. So I thought that was a very cool thing that they did. And and so I would check it out. It might be coming to streaming soon, probably at this point.
I assume so. It's one of those movies I wanted to see for a while, but I just waited too long to actually see it because I heard it. I mean, it's got glowing reviews. People love this movie, and I think that's really amazing to see, especially when it's got the cast that it has, things of that nature. It's just really cool to see these kind of movies be brought more to the limelight because you don't see that often enough, especially with the Asian actors.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is super cool that they did that. 'Cause I remember seeing a trailer for that. I thought it was kind of an odd choice, like, because I've only ever known her as like kind of like a side, character, like like a motherly character or something like that.
Right.
But like having her get her own spotlight, like, just very cool.
Yeah, she's fantastic. So check that out whenever you can.
Nice.
I will add it to the list
for sure. I will definitely watch it at some point. I can go last. I kind of have a free for all and also a question to you guys. We'll try to be quick as possible when it comes down to it. Of course, I've been catching up on shows like The Boys most recently, and it's kind of had me feeling some type of way because The Boys is a show that we all know. For the listeners that haven't watched it or whatever, there's going to be maybe light spoilers in regards to this show. But also, it is a show about superheroes that are kind of basically under government contract. What would happen if superheroes existed in America in the real world? They probably wouldn't be, the Iron Man. Yeah, they probably end up being really bad people that also have a lot of commercials on your favorite YouTube videos. They turn out being pieces of shit. But this show is just known for being very over the top, very grotesque. Very like eye-opening in the worst ways possible. And it kind of made me think about like how I feel about shows that lean too hard into their shtick and how I feel about that. And it kind of brings the question to me with you guys of like, is there so much as leaning too hard into a shtick? At what point does it feel like you're leaning too hard into it? And at what point does it like work well? For me personally, I do think a shtick is fine in a show. I do think it's good to have your thing in a show that kind of sets you apart from other shows, other media, just in general, video games, whatever media you're making. There's something that sets you apart from other things is good. It's a good thing. Do I think there can be too much of it? Yes. I think the biggest cultural thing that we saw in our world, and we talked a little bit about it in our news this week, with Game of Thrones. The big thing about Game of Thrones was subverting your expectations. to the point where it was an expectation that your expectations would be subverted. That became the thought of the show. It's like, oh, no character's safe. Anytime I see a new character and I like them, I should expect them to die. That became Game of Thrones like hard leaning to the point where I think they had it as too much of a crutch, and it might have been to their detriment. And that was for a lot of other reasons that the show had issues. But it came to a point where there's no more secrets. Now what do we do? Now we just have to tell a story. The Boys is kind of having the same issue for me personally, and that might just be maybe a little bit. It shouldn't be fatigue because the show isn't coming out quickly. It's not a show that's like coming out like every 6 months or something like that. But it's like as soon as I saw the first episode and it's over the top shit that happens in the show, just kind of like, ugh. This is just what we're gonna keep doing. And every episode, like the first 3 episodes, I just kept making this cringe face of like, do I like what's happening right now? Or are we just doing the thing where it's like we want to upset people? Like that's our whole goal in this show is to upset people. Right. I've never read the graphic novel, so I'm just not familiar with the way that this story unfolds. But goddamn, it feels like they're playing a lot into what's happening in the world right now. And I don't think the comic was probably doing that so much because they couldn't.
They are definitely diverged in some ways. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
There's a character specifically, not to go into spoilers, but there's a character specifically that they're definitely changing to fit a certain narrative that I'm not so much liking that they're trying to akin it to. I think I know what we see. Yeah, I'm sure you do. And that's happened with a couple places where like they're definitely playing on what we're seeing right now in the world. Right. Or what we've seen in the last couple years in the world. And that shtick is starting not to stick as well with me.
Right.
And I just don't really know if that's a me thing. Maybe it's a fatigue from me, or maybe it's like, I don't know. I don't know what's the happy medium for that kind of stuff. Dragon Ball Z is another thing with that. Dragon Ball Super just came out with their most recent movie that just came out in Japan last week. And it'll be in American theaters in August. And I will probably have a way to watch it at some point. But Dragon Ball Z, we know, is known for its transformations. The big thing the characters do is they transform. They get stronger, their hair gets longer, it changes a different color. That's what happens in Dragon Ball Z.
Right.
They did it again. No spoilers once again. I just don't know that that's good enough anymore. And maybe I'm just getting old and jaded.
But they've been doing it for like 2 decades now, you know?
You know
like,
what I mean?
So
but
it's
like, it's just, you think they would get smarter with it? I don't know. It's so unfortunate because that last movie was so good. And I think it still works with a lot of like old stuff. But this one is all new stuff. So I don't know. So my question to you guys is just like, does the stick work for you? And are there cases where it has or cases where there hasn't?
I mean, I think for me at least, like most things, it depends. It varies. It depends on what it is for me personally. Like for me, The Boys, like I go in there expecting the hyper violence that's not really realistic, you know? And so far, I don't think I've hit the fatigue of it, but I could see how it could at some point where it's like, I don't know. Like same thing with like Game of Thrones. At one point with Game of Thrones, you expect some horrible shit to happen, and that kind of became the shtick of that show.
I remember the exact season that I hit it. It was season 5, as soon as Pedro Pascal got introduced.
Right.
Yeah, we all knew.
Some bad shit's gonna happen.
We all knew that things weren't gonna go up.
And I think that can be a problem for some things, where that becomes the whole show's identity.
Right.
And so I that's why I think like maybe The Boys either needs to not change it, because I think that would change like what the show is, but I think that needs to maybe end sooner instead of lingering. Maybe
either end sooner or just like change something up. Because I'm seeing already there's a parallel between season 2 and season 3 that I'm sure you probably know what I'm talking about. Where there's like, oh, we're hitting this point very hard. And adding this character that's just likable, but it's going to be unlikable. And it's like that kind of situation where it's like,
right,
I see what you're doing. It's already been done.
Yeah.
Is this what we're going to do every season, add a new character and then make them racist? Like, is that a thing? Like, I don't.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, just maybe when it's tired out, like when they're just not doing it like, varying it up enough, right? Like if every season just feels like the same thing, like kind of like Peaky Blinders, right? I mean, Peaky Blinders just felt like the same shit. Well, a bit like, to be fair, I like Peaky Blinders a lot, but like every season had the exact same arc of like, it's a new heist we got to do, right? Okay, we got to figure it out. And at the end, they always get a bigger fish to beat the enemy that backstabs them or whatever. So it's like, it's the same thing every season, but we keep coming back to it. So I think, they're finally ending. But, well, I'm saying with The Boys, I feel like the first few seasons did a really good job of like showing like how having powers would corrupt and like all these issues that are very embedded in the real world. Like that's what, a lot of superhero stories don't really get into like
Right.
they do allegories for it, like mutants is like an allegory for racism, right? But this is like the boys are very on the nose of like, no, this superhero was a freaking Nazi.
It's
right?
like this is racism. Yeah,
this is literal racism.
Right. They literally think they're better and they have a supremacy over normal humans.
Yeah, there's no allegory with this. Yeah.
I guess when the trope gets when it just feels tired, if they're doing it the same way too much, I guess that's when you get tired out. If it's too on the nose and it's not nuanced enough and there's not enough like, maybe you should have tried to scale it back and make it more allegorical instead of like just on the nose, like,
That I think that's kind of where I'm feeling, where it's like I think what they have right now is really good. Like you said, talking about the whole thing where it's like the anti Zack Snyder. Like Zack Snyder wants you to see the characters as gods, and the boys very much doesn't want you to see them like that. They want you to see you as like these are flawed people that have issues, things like that. But then I think they're trying to bring too much of things that is cultural to kind of have that shock value of like, who would have thought she's an anti-Semite? And it's like,
right,
okay, like that's shocking, but maybe we didn't need that in this kind of show. And that's the thing. Are we just going to keep reintroducing characters and then making them pieces of shit? Which is fine. I mean, I guess we can do that. But it's like, are we going to keep making them such an obvious piece of shit to the cultural things we're going through right now? Like, do I need that over and over again? Not really. I see that in my everyday life.
I mean, we're talking about a character from season 2. That I would say that is just the comic. Like that character is just like that. But I guess the thing is, like, would people feel like a betrayal to the boys if they did introduce a character who is like a Superman, but like that is just great? That is just a good human being. Like, is that a betrayal to what that show was for people at some point? You know what I mean?
Fair.
I mean, I think the whole point of that show is like power corrupts, right? So I mean, that's like kind of what the boys is saying.
And that's the thing, but it's like, I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too hard into it, but it just feels like a little, like I said, on the nose.
No, I think you have a good point, though. Yeah.
Where it's like, at first, I felt like it was nuanced enough to the point where it's like, okay, like this is interesting because people, it's that dichotomy of man where it's like some people see him as like, oh, we see him as the bad guy, but everyone else is like, oh, no, that's a really cool guy. Homelander's the fucking guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
But now it just becomes every single time a new character is introduced, is it's like, oh, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, like what's going to be wrong with this new hero?
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't know. And that's the thing. I don't know how to fix that. I'm not a writer.
But maybe they're just not doing a good job in season 3. I mean, I think they did a pretty good job with the first 2. But yeah, maybe like the story needs to keep moving, right? Because it does. I feel like sometimes shows too, like, what do you say, create kind of weak storylines to get the characters to like do stuff. And maybe that's what's happening this season. I'm not sure, but like,
I don't want to go too far into season 3 since you haven't seen anything, but I will say that it's pulling more from reality than it is from the comic. And I think that's my issue right now.
And that also kind of breaks the illusion a little bit, because then you start thinking about, what's going on in the world right now and stuff. And so, I just feel like, okay, for me, it's like, are you buying it or are you not buying it? Right. So like when they're trying to do stuff with characters that you already know, right, or like that they've already established, maybe you're just not I'm not buying that this character's doing that, right? Like it's an issue sometimes when they're kind of inconsistent between movies or shows, whatever.
Right.
And then it breaks the illusion when you're like, I'm just not buying that like this character would do this.
And
I'm not
don't get me wrong, the character would probably be on board with this. Like from what we know of the character would probably be on board with this shit. But it's kind of one of those things where it got maybe a little too close to reality. That it's maybe not being, I don't know, it doesn't feel right to me personally.
I guess it also depends on where they go with it. Like at this point, we haven't seen, who knows how this ends, this arc ends.
We're 5 episodes in. What do we expect? 8 episodes?
Yeah.
Like,
so I don't,
It's kind of how I feel with Obi-Wan. It's like, it can only go so far.
We don't got much time to tell this story.
Oh, Jesus.
So I just want to ask you guys how you felt about that. So that was kind of how I started to feel. And I don't know if I'm just getting older, so I'm getting jaded. Or it's just like, I don't know, stories I'm getting a lot more critical of. I definitely am. Like, don't get me wrong. I definitely have gotten more negative and more cynical towards media, which is funny that I can still enjoy things like Star Wars. But that's because I have to make in my mind, like, yes, this sucks. I know it sucks. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like, some of that stuff is just like, I love this show, but it's just kind of like, I don't know if y'all actually had an idea where you want to do with this when you first started this season.
Right.
And Obi-Wan was another one, not to go too far into a rant, but Obi-Wan was another one where it's like, I don't think you guys actually knew what you wanted to do with this show. You just knew you wanted to bring Obi-Wan back, and you just kind of freeformed it along the way. And it's made what it's made. And we'll talk about that very soon.
Probably next week.
It'll be interesting. Yes, next week we'll talk about that. I'll be very interested to see your guys' opinions on that, because I definitely have mine.
Yeah, and a show like The Boys, you got to anchor this. Like the story is going to be about Butcher finding Homelander at some point. Like, can they kill Homelander? Can they bring down the system of supers? Right? Like that's kind of like the end goal.
I guess
of this
the question
story.
for like The Boys is like, does the show end when Homelander dies, or is there more story to tell post that?
Right.
Oh, I would not be surprised if there's some post show.
Oh, I 100% agree with that.
I assume there's post comics, so there has to be some post show.
So yeah,
and the previous the previous seasons, like they had kind of a point, like it was about Butcher's family and stuff like that. But they've dealt with that, right? So it's like you do have to keep on, like the story has to like have a purpose, right? And I feel like if they don't really have like a strong purpose to keep like Walking Dead, right? Like that's a good example of this. Like just not really having a purpose. Like we're just
that is the perfect
the
example of a show where the shtick it did not work after 3 seasons.
My thing is, there's a whole fucking comic, and they said fuck the comic after like season 5. I don't even know. Now it's completely off the rails of what it was ever supposed to be. So I don't even know what the show's about. I read the graphic novel. I have no idea what the show is about.
Wait, is the show still
all
going?
the characters from the comic, yes, it's still going.
So.
I think it's just the last
going?
season. Yes.
Oh Jesus, dude.
Every single character that's in the comic, I don't think is even alive in the show.
Oh God, just end it. Please end it.
Wild to me.
No, that was a really interesting question, though.
I think that's when you start losing, people's interest, is when you kind of run out of a compelling story to tell. That's why Game of Thrones was so good until the end, because we all really wanted to know what was going to happen, even though their execution was bad. But But
I also think, like, for example, we're going on way too long, but that's okay. But I also think shows like Game of Thrones did this thing in culture and in media where a lot of shows, including The Boys, for example, started to become shows that you were just waiting for the next shock value event to happen, type of thing. Which I'm not the craziest fan of. It's kind of like the same thing like Marvel with their Marvel shows, which is why I wasn't crazy with like stuff like Loki and stuff by the end, where it's like all you were kind of waiting for was the next shock MCU tie-in.
Did you care about the 6 episodes? Or did you care about the big reveal that happened at the end?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm getting sick of that shtick, if that you can call that a shtick, where it's just like, which is not the saying it's bad, or filler, but it's like you're just going through this story, but you're in the back of your head, you're like, okay, but how is this? What's going to happen? What's going to lead me to the next breadcrumb? Which is mostly just the thing that'll lead me to the next breadcrumb, not really like wanting that type of thing. You know what I mean? So I think that in our media is kind of overblown and a bit annoying at times. But yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
We can have a whole episode about that kind of stuff, because I do think that we've definitely gone overboard of waiting 20 minutes of post credits to see, oh, dude is coming in the next episode of Boop Bop, and it's like, awesome, man. Oh man, now we got fucking Metal Iron Man is coming down to fuck up Supersonic. Like, I don't give a shit, dude. I just don't care anymore.
But yeah, Brian, that's a great question. I really enjoyed that question though. So
yeah, it was great.
I'll be interested to know once we finish The Boys to see how y'all feel about it as a whole. I still think it's a great show. Don't get me wrong, but I am still I'm seeing more pain points than I did originally from watching the show, and that might just be an element of a show going on as long as it has. It's been a few years now, so
well, that is our show, listeners. You can email us at thefourtress@gmail.com. Fourtress spelled FOUR. Feel free to email us any questions or feedback, recommendations, or anything you have to ask or anything. Also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and the YouTube channel at The Fourtress of. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your grandma, tell your cat. Rate and review us, whatever you want. Go see Top Gun Maverick. It's a solid movie. See it in the theater. This is the one movie I will say, go check it out in the theater. Those practical effects on that big screen look amazing.
Real good. Take your white dad.
That should be on the poster.
Top Gun Maverick. Take your white dad. You guys can also follow me on Instagram. Instagram.com/ITZ_by the way. I also have a link in my bio that shows you all the other stuff that I do. Click on that shit. Thank you. Love you.
I'm going to plug Alex while he's not here. It's petersonfilms.com. And for me, I think I'm going to try to make a Bad Luck Brian meme so that everybody that doesn't know what that means, maybe we'll put it on the Fourtress Instagram. Who knows?
Yeah, that'd be great. Also, let's wish Alex a happy first Father's Day.
Yeah,
the listeners know he's a dad now, so congrats, man. Thank you, Brian, for the art. Thank you, Alex, for the music. Devin, thank you for being here as usual. And Jackie, thank you for helping edit the podcast every week. Happy holidays, everyone. And put a quote on his quote out there. He's got nothing. He's got nothing.
Was I expected to say something? I'm sorry. I'm still thinking about Homelander being a piece of shit. It's pissing me off.
All right, everyone. We'll see you here next week in another episode of the Fourtress of...
Welcome to the danger zone.